It's going to be early tonight, too.
Good evening. We'd like to open the Planning Board meeting of Wednesday, April 11th at 7 p.m. Present tonight, we have Guy Horn, Vice Chairman, Pam Humphrey, Clerk of the Board, Dan Edmondson, member, Kevin Sullivan, member, John Breyer, alternate member, our Town Planner, Don Johnson, and Mark Marziotti, Chairman. We will get right into the agenda. Item A is approval of minutes for March 14th, 2018. And I am entertaining a motion for anyone who has read those, to approve.
Mr. Chairman, I read the minutes from our March 14th, 2018 meeting, and make a motion that we approve them as submitted.
Okay, we have a motion?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of March 14th, 2018. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. So we'll pass those around. You need one or two copies, Don?
Good to sign two.
Two, okay. While we're passing the minutes, we will move on to item B, request to release lot 51 on Stebbins Road extension from covenant for building purposes.
The purchase and sale involved. Yeah, so it's not gonna happen.
It was what?
The purchase and sales involved in the applicant for the sales agreement.
Okay.
So it's not gonna be that transaction.
Okay, sounds good. So we'll pass over that for this evening. Item C is the potential spring 2018 town meeting warrant article to amend the zoning bylaws by changing the minimum lot frontage for the Business 15 district from 200 foot to 100 foot. We can discuss that. Don, you want to give us a...
Looking at tab under C, you'll see that there's a memo, or actually an email, I should say, from Nelson, requesting we make that change. Second page, number C2, is actually the article. So what it is to change frontage in the minimum frontage measurement in the Business 15 district from 200 to 100. And you can see on the following pages, there's a couple excerpts from a report from CMRPC from about 2012. And there was a recommendation there at that time, too, that we might want to take a second look at this. If you think about it, 200 feet by 200 feet is an acre. So you have a minimum lot size of 15,000 square feet, and a square lot, a perfect square, comes out almost 40,000 square feet. It just doesn't seem to make sense to have a 200-foot frontage requirement. Besides that, there's only about 3 lots in the Business 15 district that actually have 100 feet of frontage. This is one of them.
Mhm.
We are right now. It just seemed to make sense that there should be 100. Say 100 by 150, for example, that would be 15,000 square feet.
Okay. Seems to make sense. Any comment from the board? We all in agreement, or? Yeah.
Just some history. The reason why they had put 200 at the time was for drive-throughs.
Yeah, I put
All right.
it,
And
thought
so
it was,
how do you handle that how do you handle someone that wants to drive through with only 100 feet? Oh, if you can asterisk it and say that anything with a proposed drive-through needs a special permit or something from the board, because otherwise you could be opening up a problem. I agree with the 100 feet as long as you solve the drive-through issue.
okay.
Mhm.
It's
That's a
been
good
there
point.
for a while because
Yeah.
it was there in 2002. I noticed one. Okay, look at that.
Do we have anything in the bylaws now that says like a drive-through has to have a stack up of 7 cars or 5 cars or something like that?
Nothing like that.
That might be another way to handle that.
But it totally makes sense. I agree, as long as you can figure out.
Okay,
the
why don't I
drive.
just put an asterisk next to it, double asterisk next to it, whatever it may be, a cross or some kind of symbol, just to say that in the beef Business 15 district, that for a drive-through restaurant, drive-through building, whatever it may be, we'll come with some language, that the minimum frontage requirement is 200 feet.
Mhm.
Either that or you put the asterisk in and we have, and set where it says C drive-through requirements, and we make a new bylaw for a drive-through that says you have to have
I'll
5
have
cars.
time to do that between now and then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next time,
All right, no problem.
What is the cutoff?
April 20th.
Okay. So we don't need to have a motion on this, but I think it's important that the board support or not support this warrant article, so if you have anything, now's the time.
A lot of that notation about drive-throughs. Anything else?
Seems fair.
So you're comfortable, Don, with architecting that change, and
Yeah, we're gonna have to put another number. Number 2 is over there right now, and that refers to footnotes, so we'll have to add another footnote. Follows after this. I can show you in the book if you want, but little 2 that's over there, for example, that refers to a footnote. You can add another footnote number as well. Same with 1 up above. Okay?
okay, as long as you're comfortable,
So
and you'll share that with us before,
we'll get it out to you tomorrow sometime.
okay?
We'll have to hold a public hearing on it.
One. I'm not sure what the date is in
Okay.
May, but
All right.
May 8th maybe? I think it's May 8th. Fine, one or the other. Let's go up in a second.
Okay. May 8th is a Tuesday.
I think we have a comment from the audience.
May 9th then.
Yeah?
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, is there any way that the mic for Mr. Johnson, we can hear you? Mr.
Okay.
But
Okay.
We can't, we have no.
Okay.
Absolutely, that's a
I can
good,
do that.
that is a good comment. I was just gonna make note of that, because I can hardly hear Don.
Well, thank you, you're much younger than I am.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
yeah, I'll bend over.
So we have a larger group than normal, which is nice, so let's just make sure we all use our mics, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So I think we're good. So you'll take care of that for us, Don, and let us know, right?
Right.
Okay. Moving on to item D, discussion on finishing construction of and acceptance of uncompleted, unaccepted subdivision streets, including Pierpont Estates. We have a request of Tony Square to discuss finishing construction of phases 1, 2A, and 2B with the board, based on an on-site meeting with Jeff Walsh of Graves Engineering regarding plans and final construction standards. I see Tony's here, so.
I don't know if you had the meetings with Jeff, because he will be here later. He will be here at this meeting tonight, a little bit later.
Okay. I did have I talked to him, but he couldn't make it.
Okay.
The meeting day, so I guess he's a little.
Okay, I don't know what, I don't know what his schedule is, but he'll be here later tonight.
Yeah, we're supposed to meet on the week of 23rd.
23rd.
Yeah, Jeff.
There's 2 weeks.
2 weeks from now? 2 weeks from now, right? 2 weeks from now?
23rd, I don't know.
Yeah, that's it. Okay.
Close to 2 weeks.
Might as well get over here.
We don't have anything.
Yeah, we're supposed to meet on the week of 23rd, so I guess he's away next week.
Okay. So what is it you wanted to share with us?
Well, I want to walk the project with them and see what, because I mean, I want to start next week, work on sidewalks. And I'd like to talk to Jeff about raising the catch basins, raise all the structures, right? And so I want to go ahead and just finish it up. but I want to meet with them and see if he has any special things that he wants required.
Okay.
The other thing I like to do is probably not, I don't think I told Don that, is I like to start my last phase as soon as possible. So I can connect, go from like station 10 to 23.
Mm-hmm.
Just connect the road this year. So I like to start that as soon as you permit me.
Okay. All right, well, let's find out what the status is for, when you meet with Jeff. Sure he'll share.
Week of 23rd, so it'll be not next week, the following week. Yeah.
Okay, we have another meeting. We have another meeting that week.
Yeah. So in the meantime, I like to see if I can start my last phase.
What do you want to do in the last phase? Is it just roughing out the road? Is it already been cut?
It's already cut. Yeah.
It's already cut.
Yeah.
So you got to take out the stumps and start roughing the road in?
I want to start working on the drain and work on the crossing the wetlands. You have a culvert there. I'm going to start from the bottom up.
So we should probably have a vote on that?
Hmm?
Probably have a vote on that?
We have nothing.
It's
I
an
don't
approved
understand.
subdivision.
Okay, so,
He wants to start the last phase.
I understand that part of it. So what would the ramifications be? Is there anything that we should know?
He doesn't have any lot releases on that section
Okay,
of
so
road.
it's just the road?
Lot releases for a long
Just
time.
the
Just the road that you
Just the
want to do,
road.
just to tie it in, you said?
Yeah, I was to connect the road and
Okay.
get out of there someday.
Right
I
now
guess you're
he's-
looking for permission to do a rough grading, you'd say? At this point, you're looking for permission to do rough grading. You just want the board to know that you're gonna start
Right,
doing rough
right.
grading in the rest of the roadway.
Yeah.
Okay.
Within a week, really, until
Yeah.
the engineers does the walkthrough.
Yeah.
I think that's okay.
I don't see any
Yeah.
problem with that.
How far can you go in a week?
What did you say, Kevin? I'm
I
sorry.
said, how far can you go in a week before we have the engineer
Never
do the
know.
walk?
So he's not gonna give any lot releases or anything. So it's just road work.
Yeah. So if the board is interested in, we can make a motion. If we agree with what Tony is looking to do, obviously he's been a good developer and he's stood by his word and done what he said he would do, by the covenant and the subdivision control law. So I don't see any reason why we shouldn't proceed, but certainly the board's decision.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we allow Tony Secura at Pierpont Estates to start construction of the final phase of roadway for that project.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for the final phase for
Pierpont Estates.
Pierpont Estates for Tony Secura. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. Okay, Tony.
Thank you.
Okay. We will now move into our public hearing. Okay, so we're going to move into a public hearing. This is an article to amend the zoning bylaws and/or zoning map to be on the warrant for the town meeting on May 21st, 2018. Add text to establish a solar overlay district on lots 19 and 19.1 or -1 on Assessor's Tax Map 215 adjacent to 99 Ramshorn Road, and amend the zoning map accordingly. So this is an opportunity for, this public hearing was kind of, I wanted to just explain a little bit, was put in place so that the applicant could just share the details of the zoning, or the change that he was looking to make, and what he was proposing in this space. And obviously, nothing gets approved. It's the ability to, it's sharing information about what the warrant would actually say for the article to be voted on at town meeting. So that's essentially what the public hearing is about tonight. And everyone will have an opportunity to voice their opinion within the public hearing forum. So at 7:15, we will open the public hearing pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 5. The Dudley Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, April 11th, 2018 at 7:15 p.m. in the Dudley Municipal Complex, Room 321A, DMC Veterans Memorial Hall, 71 West Main Street, Dudley, Mass. 01571, to review and receive public input on an article to amend the zoning bylaws and zoning map, which will be on the warrant for the annual town meeting to be held at Shepherd Hill Regional High School at 68 Dudley Oxford Road, Dudley, Mass. On May 21st, 2018 at 7 p.m. This article is as follows. To see if the town will vote to amend the zoning bylaw and zoning bylaws map relative to large-scale ground-mounted solar photovoltaic installations by amending Section 3.12.00, large-scale solar photovoltaic, 3.12.02, applicability. Second paragraph, by adding the following phrase immediately following the words with the town clerk at the exiting end of said paragraph. And as shown on the map entitled Zoning Map Amendment Proposed Solar Overlay District, parcels 215-019-000-000 and 215-019-001-0000, 99 Ramshorn Road, Dudley, Mass., dated March 18th, which map is hereby made a part of the zoning bylaws of official zoning map and is on file in the office of the planning board and the town clerk. And by adopting the above referenced zoning map amendment per the above referenced map, which is to be on file with the town clerk at the planning board, and by amending the existing zoning map to include said solar overlay district. The complete text of this article and associated maps and the Town of Dudley official zoning map and the Town of Dudley zoning bylaws may be viewed in the planning board office or the town clerk's office, which are located at the Dudley Municipal Complex, 71 West Main Street, Dudley, Mass. 01571 during regular working hours. The planning board will receive public input at the public hearing. Any persons interested or wishing to be heard should appear at the time and place designated. If you wish to comment but are unable to attend, please submit written comments to the planning board office before 4:30 p.m. on April 11th, 2018. Mark L. Marziotti, Chairman, Dudley Planning Board. This ran 2 times in 2 consecutive weeks, March 22nd and March 29th, 2018. Okay. So,
We have a page there that's, shows how it will go into the existing text.
excuse me, could you please speak?
You have a page in front of you that shows how it will go into the existing text. That's the one, the highlighted area on that?
Yep.
Yep.
So essentially what we have is, in the town of Dudley, we have a solar bylaw that only permits solar farms in certain areas of the community. And last year at the fall town meeting, the townspeople voted in to allow an overlay district, which essentially potentially takes an area that is not identified in the bylaw and creates an overlay where it meets certain requirements, and it's all listed in the overlay bylaw, district bylaw, to allow a solar farm in a particular area. And the applicant before us is looking to utilize that overlay to construct a solar farm in the location that we've earlier identified. And so if you'd like to share with us, share with the group, again, I know you shared with us, but obviously we have some folks here that would probably benefit by hearing your commentary. Probably be a great place to start.
Yep, sure. Thanks for seeing me again. So we've, in the past month, we've gone out, we've finished all of our site work, all the wetlands have been flagged, all of the other resources have been mapped, and so we've gone and we've refined our site plans, as you can see behind you. I think they'll still be tweaked a little bit more. I'd like to straighten this out and bring that up, and then move some of these panels over here, and then up and over here, and get them a little bit further away from this setback over here, and just try and utilize this area. But as you can see, the road here, this is an existing cart path that they use to access the site. The road that we're proposing will come along and follow that as it crosses the wetland, providing maintenance and emergency ingress and egress to the various to the array. As you know, we're here seeking the amendment to the overlay zone. I think this time is probably best served hearing the comments from the public. And this is sort of where we are now in the site plan development. Like I said, it's subject to change, but this is sort of generally what we're thinking. The array itself is 2.4 megawatts DC, 2 megawatts AC. It includes 1 megawatt battery storage, which is located up here. It's this small pad up in this area. And that's really where we are now with the project. We've applied for interconnection with the utility, and then it's really just sort of waiting to hear what the resolution is here, and then we'll move forward.
Okay. Thanks for that. We can get the lights again. So based on that, if there's anyone here that would like to make a comment, please come up, sign in, and share with us what question you might have regarding this.
Sign in first.
Please.
My name is Patricia Fanning French. I live on Partridge Hill Road. As you probably are aware, you received my emails during the previous couple of weeks indicating that there's a portion of Partridge Hill Road that overlooks Ramshorn, and we are still private. The Dershmitt family is still responsible for our portion of the road, and I've lived there for 26 years, and they've never taken any responsibility for the road, and we appreciate that the town still plows and sands us, but we think it's time for the Dershmitt family to step up, and I know in the past there have been some conditions on this land when they were pursuing, I think, sale to put in houses, that in order to get a variance, our road needed to be finished and brought up to the town standards to be accepted by the town, finally. So I think the residents, we all have grave concerns, not only about our road, and I'm sure other people will speak. We have concerns about the aesthetics, about conservation of having a solar array in that area, in a residential area. And whatever happens with that land, I think all the residents on the private part of the road do want the town to help us enact some kind of stipulations, conditions, lien, whatever we have to do in order for the Dershmitts to put aside the funds that need to be used to bring Partridge Hill Road up to the town standards and the ultimate goal of being accepted by the town.
So let me just ask you a very basic question. If the road was improved, if the road was taken care of, would the solar farm still be an issue?
I think it would for a lot of people who are probably going to overlook that area, and they don't know. I mean, you can't always know what the finished product is going to look like. And, you know, they bought in a very rural area surrounded by woods, never intending to look down on a solar farm. So yes, there will be concerns, I'm sure, and I assume they will come up and
Well, the
and
alternative to a solar farm could be a condo complex, right?
we understand that,
Okay.
and that, you know, I'm on the other side of Partridge Hill Road. I wouldn't see it, but I do have land that abuts it, and I think there's also an issue that not all abutters received the package. You know, so there are issues. So yes, I do think that no matter what, a solar farm in the residential area would be an issue for a lot of people still.
Okay. All right.
Maybe I can make a point about that. There will be another hearing. If this gets passed at town meeting, there will be another hearing for a special permit for this project.
I couldn't hear that, yeah.
If this project passes at town meeting, I shouldn't say the project, if this zoning overlay district passes at town meeting, then a few months from now, there'll be another hearing that actually is held for a special permit to give permission to do this proposal.
At the time, a condition could be put on the land saying construction could begin until Partridge Hill Road was finished to the town's acceptance.
I'm not certain about that. We'd have to look into that a little bit more, but
Our last chance
I understand.
of the Dershmitt family to finish this road.
I understand.
Right. I mean, we don't know how to, as residents, we're not sure how to proceed to make sure that the road is taken care of eventually, because it's been
Right.
a long time.
Yeah.
And I know the road is deteriorating. I mean, at one point it was paved, and I think the town wanted another layer, and nobody had the residents didn't have the funds to do that, and the Dershmitts didn't step up and do it.
Right.
So,
No, having read all the information, I believe that the arrangement that was made, and it was zoning board and it was selectmen that had made an arrangement with the Dershmitts that said, if you sell this property, you must improve the land. And it's unfortunate that you have to almost kind of use that as a lever to make somebody do the right thing.
Right.
And so, that being said, seems to be either conveniently or inconveniently looking at a way to get around that, obviously, still, you know, being able to benefit from some revenue without selling the land and shirking his responsibility of taking care of the road. However, that doesn't mean that you've got someone, and I'm not saying that the applicant would be responsible for that, but obviously the applicant has an interest in putting in a solar farm for a number of different reasons. So it's really not in the planning board's purview to do the negotiating, and, you know, but you have an applicant who's interested in the property. You have the property owner who's interested in the applicant. You would think that, you know, maybe an arrangement could be made that says, hey, you know, maybe we could look at the solar farm to be this or to be that, or I mean, if the solar farm, if everybody is opposed to the solar farm, I get it, I understand, no problem, me personally, for sure. But the road probably won't get fixed, is is what it's gonna come down to, unfortunately.
Right.
Hate to say that, but it's just, it's a private road, and when you buy in, unfortunately, you trust the contractor that's developing, and you hope that they stay there with you through, and do the right thing. But in some cases it works, in some cases it doesn't, but.
Right. Well, we do have some leverage, obviously, because the town vote will take place, and we've all lived here for a long time and have lots of friends.
Right.
So,
Right. I will tell you that the applicant had come here at our last meeting and didn't want to just go and try to make this happen at town meeting, because he could have done that without the public hearing. He could have done that without doing this right here.
okay.
He actually, under some recommendations of some of our board members, had said, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. I'd love to engage the abutters, because I want everyone to be, okay with it. Why go and, do all the due diligence and find out that nobody wants it? So let's work
Okay.
it out. So that's a big courtesy, that we have here tonight. So that's the
Well,
opportunity.
we
that
appreciate
have.
that. And
Yeah.
so you've heard my concerns. Maybe some other residents
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
come up and
Absolutely.
state theirs.
Thanks, Tricia.
Okay, thank you.
Definitely. Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else?
My name is Jim Hubert, 40 Partridge Hill Road. I'm one of the butters that directly, will butt this, solar farm. A couple questions I had. You brought up roughly a year ago, that the town meeting, the residents voted in for this, just the change in this solar, what did you call it? Blank?
The
Overlay.
The overlay. What exactly does that mean as an overlay? Can you explain what
you
that
wanna-
means?
So basically what it was the previous to last year, before last year, the only areas in town you could do a large-scale solar farm was either the conservation district, which is basically where the town dump is, or an industrial zone. So we had a applicant come forward last year that had a piece of land that literally borders Oxford and Dudley out on, what's that? Oxford Ave. And it was a 35-acre parcel. They had a solar company that was interested in doing a solar farm there. It was originally zoned industrial, and then it was changed and it was zoned to residential. They wanted to zone it back to industrial. Rather than keep changing the land back and forth all the time, what we did was we went ahead and put in what's called an overlay district. So an overlay district it gives the town the ability to add certain parcels of land to this overlay district, and then they become permissible for a solar farm. The original zoning does not change, so this is basically what it says. It's an overlay. So the underlying zoning for the land stays the same. So this land right now is zoned residential 87. It will still be zoned residential 87, but these two lots that this gentleman, this applicant is looking to do the solar farm on would be part of the overlay district that says that it's okay, it's permissible to have a solar farm on these two lots. What this does is it gives the residents the ability to vote the lots in that they want to see the solar farms on. It's not up to the planning board to vote this. We are only supporting the article and taking it to town meeting. The residents then that come to town meeting have a right to vote on this. If there's 100 people at the town meeting and 51 don't want a solar farm, then there's no overlay district change. It stays exactly the way it is. But if 100 people come to town meeting and 51 say, or actually, I think you need 2/3 majority vote for a zoning change. So then if 2/3 of the majority of the town meeting voted in, then it's acceptable and they can have a solar farm on these two lots. We did it last year for the one lot on Oxford Ave. this gentleman's here before you tonight asking to have it on these two lots off of Ramson Road.
Okay, so it basically opens a town, the whole town open, you know, for solar farms, as long as they're approved
At
by
town-
a town meeting.
At town meeting.
So I would assume like the Center Street solar farm and the high school solar farm, those had to
Those
go
were
through the same?
those were enacted before that.
Oh, okay,
Those happened before that. That's the reason why we have this today.
right.
Because people didn't have a say back then whether you could have it or not. It was basically, it was an approved condition. It was an acceptable use for all the town. And people came and voiced their opinion that they didn't want this all over town. So we changed it so that it was only into the industrial area and to the conservation, the refuge district down by where the dump is, right now, the town dump.
Well, we wrote a warrant, and the townspeople agreed that that was what it was
That's what
gonna
they
be. So
wanted.
that's how it changed.
Changed.
Planning board can't change any of that.
We only recommend it.
Okay.
Yep.
And my other question is, back, I think, well, that says 2010. So 2010, when this variance was voted on for the frontage change on this property, for the, you know, for the option for them to obviously put in 2 building lots, and the plan was try to sell them and put 2 houses on them. And obviously it says sale, so I don't know, because it doesn't say rental or leasing, do we have, you know, avenues to draw money, or is there a possibility or a way to put something on the town meeting to change the wording of that, or add in rental to sale? So that could force,
That agreement's already filed at the Registry of Deeds.
right, so we probably can't change that, but we could vote on a whole new agreement that would include rental.
Right, I think you as homeowners here have a lot of clout, so to speak, with the town meeting pending coming up in May, and the applicant wanting to do this, his first hurdle is to getting the solar overlay district approved. If that doesn't happen, his project's done right there. But, I mean, I think the applicant's willing to work with you guys. We can't negotiate the deal for you. You guys can negotiate on behalf of yourselves, get together as a group and talk to the applicant and see what can be worked out. The good news is, you've got until May, until the town meeting, to get the details worked out. It doesn't have to be done tonight,
Right.
but you got until May to get it done. If you can't get a deal done, then you can simply, you know, do your right and show up at town meeting and vote no.
Vote no.
But if you can get an agreement and you're gonna get your road paved and it's gonna get, and then it can be accepted by the town, if you can get an agreement in writing that you can bring to the Board of Selectmen and say, look, we're gonna get this road paved, we want you guys to go ahead and accept it, I think that's where you need to go. We can recommend that once you get the agreement, we can recommend to the Board of Selectmen that the road be accepted. We've recommended in the past that the road be accepted. The selectmen have the final say. We can recommend it all day, but if they don't accept it,
Right,
you
right.
know, we
A
can.
couple smaller questions, I guess is posing towards you, if you're willing to disclose. How did you come about picking this piece, or you pursued, or did you pursue the property, or?
I personally didn't. It was, so, I guess this is, I think we dates back to maybe 2013 or 2014. We started working with the Derschmidts, and that was before my time at this company. But we were in the process of aggregating land in Massachusetts to develop, and this was just one of the properties
Yeah.
that.
But you don't
that
know
we
if they
looked
pursued you or you pursued them?
at. I don't know.
You don't
No,
know.
I do not know.
Are you willing to disclose what you're paying for rentals?
No.
Okay. Thought I'd ask.
If I can just ask as well, could I just get your name?
Sure. My name is Ed Schweitzer.
Ed Switzer. All right, thank you.
I think the last thing, I mean, I'm not a big favor of the solar farm living next to it. There's a few other residents, Ramswan Road, that are probably even more affected, that once you start clear cutting this land, it's gonna directly affect their property. So I just wanted to voice my opinion of that. I have 300-400 feet buffer to there. It'll still be obviously visible. I can see the wetlands from my driveway today in there, and that's where this is gonna sit around.
Right.
But there's a few other properties that the driveways go right by that they'll be clear cut, and that backyard is gonna see,
Mhm.
1,000 solar panels. And
Yeah.
I know, I'm sure that they're not actually, that pleased by that. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think too many people are, I assume it's gonna affect property values,
Mhm.
So.
We will be adding in not to cut you off, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But we will be adding in vegetative screening. The site plan just hasn't been fully developed yet. We do it on all of our projects. We're expecting to do it on this one too. And we're happy to perform visual simulations from the various neighbors' backyards to give you an idea of what it could look like when it's built. And again, we're happy to work with you guys to deal with these issues and to make sure everyone's happy.
Okay, thank
You
you.
can be sure that we take a close look at the review, too.
What's that?
Take a close look at this when we review it, too,
Yeah.
The actual proposal.
what actually gets passed.
Yeah, so as Don said, all this kind of happens, and let's say it all passes, before anything happens, there's another public hearing where all of this is vetted, what sort of screening is there? It's not just gonna be, open, it's gonna be, there's gotta be a fence there, there's gotta be, there's security and access and everything else. And we've had a number of large-scale solar farms come before us, and there's a lot of discussion about, well, we'll have this size tree, the townspeople would like something larger, and, only certain areas of the array are screened. No, all of them would be screened, that sort of thing. So that's all part of the discussion. So could be a real win-win for, everybody. Again, if the land remains unoccupied, the chances of us getting things fixed over there are probably going to be like what you've seen in the past few years. But we've got an opportunity now that maybe we can all work together, right? And try to forge an agreement together and get you what you're looking for.
If the overlay gets approved in May, then what? It goes
That
back?
means nothing other than
They have the ability to do
he has the
that.
ability to do that, but it still needs to pass.
But it still needs to pass you guys, but there's nothing really stopping them to go forward. Other than, as long as they meet all your criteria.
Mhm.
So I guess what I'm getting at is our wants and needs really need to get done before this meeting. And if they don't, once the meeting, if it passes, then we're out of luck.
Before the town meeting,
Right.
correct. And if the townspeople at the town meeting, as Guy had kind of painted a picture for you, if it gets approved that night, that the overlay is approved, then yes, they would have the ability. Now, it's just up to the board to make sure that they're doing everything that they're supposed to do based on the fact that they're gonna put this solar farm in that area.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Anyone else would like to come up?
Of course, the town meeting is on May 21st, so there's quite a bit of time to get an agreement going, get something negotiated.
I have one question. Has this road have the Dershmitts ever taken care of your road since like day one? Does anybody know?
The first part of
No.
it is
First
approved.
Is approved, but
Yes.
all right, the part that the
That's
first
not,
lady was talking, have they ever taken care of it? No, never, since day one?
They were
Yes.
developing, my name's Elizabeth Coakley, I'm 27 Partridge Hill Road. They were waiting to develop, are at the end of the approved road. It was just trees when we bought the land, and we had it rough pavement down so we could go over it. And then he was going to wait till he developed the rest of the lots, which we bought the land in 1979. This has been a long process. But I have a couple of questions. I'm
Sure.
very simple-minded. Just a couple of clarifications. About the notices that were sent out, that came from your company?
They did.
Now, how is that determined who gets them? That's one of the questions I would like answered.
So that was, so we went onto the town's GIS, we put in a 300-foot buffer, and then we sent it out accordingly. I was made aware that we missed a couple of people, and I apologize, sincerely apologize for that. It wasn't intentional, it was a honest mistake.
I mean, I guess you have faith in a system that you think is going to work, that you're going to be notified. You know, and a couple of the houses weren't. We certainly, our home doesn't, but we do have land right down there that abuts it. And
So,
Right.
one thing I'll just say, not defending the applicant, but he did this on his own. It was not, he was not obligated to do this.
I understand that not everybody had to, they don't have to notify people.
Right.
But then when it's a give and take,
Right.
curiosity, I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
At the special permit
then-
level, there is a requirement for notifying people. The zoning change doesn't require that individuals get notified. Actually, it's the abutting communities, planning boards, regional planning agency, and the state planning agency. That's really the only thing we're required to send, the town's required to send in a zoning change.
All right, it was curiosity.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, because it's important, you know, to know that, again, you're learning a lot about the applicant tonight, and that this wasn't something that needed to happen, but he did, and you want to make sure that everybody, it wasn't intentional that someone was left off, obviously. So
Basically.
I think that's pretty clear that it wasn't.
So I guess to the zoning board, some of the members have been on here before, and I've been up here and talking before, and this, you know it's gone on for years. So I guess my question to you is,
You mean planning board, right?
what did I say, zoning
Yeah,
board?
yeah,
I'm talking
okay.
planning board.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, no,
Okay, no problem.
you'll be old someday.
I
We've been
am.
here with all the papers,
I
we've
got it.
shown where
No
the lots
problem.
are.
Yeah.
And I guess my disappointment is, it could be Walmart going in there. But being a lease and not having him sell the land, that was what we were told. Once they sell the land, the money would be put aside and the road would be fixed. If somebody's leasing it, that, to me, is leaving us as residents out in the cold. And I just felt as though I needed to say that to you. We've come before you. We've gone before the Board of Selectmen.
But
You
you know, you had the word right. You went before the zoning board, and they were the ones who were the architects of that agreement, not the planning board. And I'm not here to say, oh, it's not us, it's someone else, because it's all the town, okay? I get it. We're all town residents, but it was a zoning board, and, you know, in a legal contract or document, sale and lease are totally different things. You know, I understand that the underlying piece was, we want you to step up and be responsible and take care of your road. And for some reason, it was drafted that it was for the sale of the land. Well, the land's not being sold. So I'm not an attorney, but it's just, it's him, again, getting around, or maybe it's just coincidental, I don't know. But I don't know how else to answer that. I welcome anyone else to step up if you'd like.
I can't believe I'm still talking about this road. 20 years ago, when I was on the planning board, he was supposed to finish that road. I think Chris was on the board with me at the time. So my understanding is originally it was Partridge Hill Estates or something like that, right? This piece of land was actually
I don't
part
know
of
if
the
estates
original
was in the word.
subdivision. And then he came in and modified it and pulled this section off of it with the understanding he was going to finish the road. All right? Never finished the road. And then
He actually sold half of that land. That land continued on all the way to Dudley Southbridge Road. And about 6 or 7 years ago, he's just sold 20 acres.
yeah.
Parcel.
So, but the whole time it was, you got to finish the road, you got to finish the road, you got to finish the road, and everything we did was so that he could finish the road. And I was shocked when I saw the correspondence come in saying that the road hasn't been touched yet. But I think what we need to do here is to separate right now the landowner from the applicant. Because the applicant voluntarily notified everybody. They didn't have to, because this is a zoning issue. Once this passes at town meeting, then there's the process that they'd have to follow. They'd have to actually go to the assessor's office, get the latest property list, and then notify them and provide the board with, the certified receipts and things along those lines. So they're trying to make this work, and they might have been unaware of some of the history on this as well. But I know when I was on the planning board 20 years ago, this piece was often threatened that, if we didn't do this, he was going to invoke, what was it, 40B, the low-income housing, which basically nukes a town's local regulations and zoning and basically allows them to do whatever they can. And so I'm looking at this saying, geez, there's one crossover of the wetlands there. Man, they could put a 35-unit condo complex of low-income housing there if they wanted to still. And I was funny that I was looking at the correspondence with the Zoning Board of Appeals, that granted the variance. There was the threat again, 35 homes, right? So do this, it'll only be 2 homes versus 35. So again, that threat is being held over. In my opinion, as a butters, you have to decide, do you want the possibility of low-income housing there, or 35-unit condominium complex on a little piece of land there, or do you want a solar farm? Eventually, all the land in Dudley is going to be built out. That's just the way it is. I mean, it's wooded today, and tomorrow there's advances, things get done. If you don't want something to happen to a piece of land, you got to buy the land. And so it's just a matter of time before something goes in there, whether it's 2 homes, 35, or a solar farm. If you think that the solar farm is one of the more desirable things, then I would say work with the applicant and let's figure out how to get the road done. In my personal opinion, enough's enough with this dirt and this road here. I mean, put a lien against the rental income, whatever, get the road done. There shouldn't be a penny going into his pocket until he completes his legal obligations to the town. And so do you go back and do you challenge all these things that have been done to that land previously because he never actually adhered to the terms of those agreements? But, we don't have a town lawyer right now. We're going to have a new one, I guess. So, and that's not really the town battle to fight unless the landowner themselves is resistant to doing what he's supposed to do for the town. Then the town would get involved.
Well, I have nothing against the applicant.
Yeah.
I don't know the man. He seems very nice. It's semantics on my part. It's the buying, selling versus the leasing.
Yeah.
I think we have no leg to stand on once it's leased. It was explained, now, Mark, I'm sorry, but I am confusing the 2 boards, I know, between the zoning and the planning, but we were told a lien would go on it, and we said, do we need that in writing? No, you'll be notified. We put our trust in the public officials, and I think that's where I'm being disappointed. I'm not sure how many people on this board know the area we're talking about. Have you been up from Partridge Hill and looking down where you want to put it?
I actually just went up, I just went up there for the first time today. I was informed about this issue last week, so this is the
Do you know how
first time.
tall the trees would have to be
Very tall.
for us not to see them?
Very.
I mean, we are up high. This is down low.
Okay.
Trees aren't going to cover it. That's
Right.
all I'm saying. So your board, if you don't approve it, if you say you don't approve it, am I getting these words right, for the town meeting? Is this one of the things, and the board does not approve this?
So this request is basically for a warrant article to modify the overlay district. That's the only thing that this is about, and that's the only thing that's gonna be voted on at the town meeting. Is this overlay district, can it be modified in that area? That's what the warrant is, that's what the warrant is going to read, and that's what is gonna be voted on, right?
Right. I mean, he, as an applicant, he doesn't have a way to get this article on the warrant. So the planning board, because we sponsor zoning changes, we're gonna sponsor his article for him. And we're gonna do it either way. You know, whether it gets vote positive at the town meeting, yes or no, it doesn't matter to us. Our obligation is only to sponsor the article and get it to the town meeting.
I guess then I'm wording my question wrong, or I'm just not hearing you. So when your warrant, the warrant is read at the town meeting, you know how then sometimes, and the board approves or supports this?
Yeah.
What's the right terminology? So will you, as a board, support it, the overlay?
Yeah, we as a board had created or were architects of the warrant article for the overlay. So we support the overlay.
All right.
Just like we supported taking or allowing a solar farm to be in any district in Dudley, we supported it and said, no, that's too much. It's only allowed in conservation and industrial.
All right.
And, you know, so that's kind of where the board's head resides. And as far as, we do feel as though it should be not that strict, so that's where this overlay came in and said, okay, let's let the townspeople decide in small areas, in small doses, in small spots, does it make sense here or doesn't it? And again, it may not make sense for you. And if it doesn't, then that's the way you need to vote. But Mr. Breyer painted, you know, quite a different picture in that, yeah, it's always been open. And the best way to protect that open land and make sure it's always open is to buy it. It's the only assurance that you have. But none of us want to have to do that. We just want to kind of hope that nothing undesirable ever goes in there. So I guess it all comes down to what's undesirable. You know, a solar farm, maybe nothing, or, you know, a 35-unit condo complex or something else, or maybe two single-family homes. I don't know. It's his land. He can do whatever he wants with it within the, you know, the confines of the bylaws of the town.
Can I ask a question, actually? Has anybody here communicated with the Derschmidts about this? I'm sure in the past about the road being improved.
No,
has been-
we don't have any contact information with them. We've never seen them. We know nothing. I just heard through the grapevine that they are no longer in the state and they're growing older, and I believe maybe their son is taking care of their affairs. But what I wanted to say, at what point, and I know this might not be your what you guys do, but at what point, you're aware that this has been going on a long time, at what point will the town step in and say, he is not fulfilling his obligations to this town? At what point is the town going to hold Mr. Dershot responsible for Partridge Hill Road and say, you know what, we're not going to let him proceed with other projects until he fulfills what he should have done a long time ago? I mean, who would do that? The selectmen? I mean, they're aware of this problem. I've been emailing, never heard a thing back other than from Michelle saying it was received after I said, hey, is anybody monitoring this mailbox? I mean, we kind of don't know where to turn. Yes, we can deal with them on our own, but what, are we going to have to hire lawyers and do some kind of legal document to say, listen, we want to hold you legally responsible? I mean, you know, we pay our taxes. We're thankful our road being plowed and sanded, but at what point is the town going to say, yeah, you know, this has been going on since the 70s, that this town portion of the road hasn't been accepted? And at some point, I would hope that they would step up and say, yeah, we want the road accepted too. I mean, it behooves them. This road is crumbling and they plow it, and at some point, we're concerned that the town's going to say, yeah, it's too much in disrepair. And then where are we left? Because the Derschmidts are gone. We have no contact information. We have no, we can't, we want to hold them accountable, and we'd like the town to also understand our position and say, we allowed him to develop this land, to sell off these lots, have these houses built, and he needs to be held accountable.
Yeah, I think everybody on this board would, you know, love to just reach into the budget and say, hey, let's put some money forth and get this squared away. It's the right thing to do, but we just don't have the ability to do that. We just don't have the ability to do that. This board does not.
And I'm not asking for the town to step up and pay for it, but they have to they have to
Yep.
hold him accountable and put a lien on his property or something so that he can't proceed with that land. I don't know if he owns any other parcels in Dudley still. I know he owned a lot. But, I mean, I would hope that at some point, they're gonna say, this has gone on long enough. And, I mean, do we talk to the zoning board of appeals? Is that who we talk to? I mean, the selectmen?
Yeah.
Say, we would like something done with this property in some kind of,
So, I mean, through the chair, so let's just say the road is done. Okay, let's just say that the applicant works out something with the landowner, and the applicant steps up and says, I'm gonna finish your road. Town standards, and I'm gonna turn it over to the town meeting so it gets accepted as a town road. Would that change your feelings about the solar overlay district?
probably mine. I can't speak for everybody else, and that's why I wish that they would come up and say how they feel, so that, you know, if, I mean, I personally would love that to happen. I mean, I understand the reservations about having a solar farm there and what their concerns are. You know, like I said, I'm on the other side of Partridge Hill Road, and I don't want to be selfish. I understand what their concerns are. I'd have the same concerns if I lived on that side of the road. But I don't, I can't speak for everyone else. So,
Yeah, we understand surely where you're coming from, you know, and we knew that these sort of comments were certainly going to arise. But again, there's no guarantee that, you know, even if you make a decision, there's no guarantee for the applicant. If you guys make an agreement and say, okay, well, except it's, if we get this, if we're able to get this road taken care of, or we can work it out, then, you know, it's still gonna go to town meeting, and
Right.
there's
I mean,
no
we don't have
guarantee
all
for
the
him that it's
control,
gonna go
right.
through, you know, it's,
Right. He
everybody
needs a
else shows
2/3
up that didn't show up tonight, and now all of a sudden they're, you know, and, oh, no, that wasn't me, you know, it's so,
I
it's really,
understand that.
you know.
Yeah.
That's really what the discussion is about. You definitely have, there's definitely an issue there. We all understand that, and certainly have empathy for it. We do. We really do. I know sometimes it seems like it's just cut and dry, and, oh, well, sorry, that's just how it is. But, you know, we're all volunteers here. We're all residents of the town. We all deal with similar problems. But, you know, the reason for the public hearing tonight is, you know, to share with you about this overlay, educate you on that. And the advice that we've given you guys so far, I think, is sound, in that I think that, I mean, certainly not, the applicant is not going to step up. I mean, the cost of repairing that road and the condition that it's in, it's just, it wouldn't behoove him he wouldn't be able to make his investment work if he was covering it. But maybe the Dershmitts will look at it and say, or maybe the son, you know, will think differently about it and say, hey, you know what?
Agreement, he has not fulfilled any of his prior agreements. So once construction begins on this project, then you can't hold him accountable. He can break an agreement with us. And now that we don't have any support from the town.
But then it's a legal issue, right?
And it's a legal issue at homeowners' expense, that's right. So we would hope the town would step up, put something in place so construction wouldn't begin until the road came up to town standards.
They
Could that be
could
a
do a
con- could that
performance
be-
bond, couldn't they?
Could that be a condition of the special permit?
Right? I mean, they could post a performance bond, so the applicant could actually post a performance bond that, so if the highway department says it's gonna cost $200,000 to fix this
The applicant
road.
probably could, yes.
At the very least, I hope you
the-
can carry the message
a little bit
back to Mr.
unconventional,
Dershmitt
but-
that we, the residents of Partridge Hill Road, do have big issues with him, because I'm not sure that he's aware of it, to tell you the truth, because like I said, he's never, to my knowledge, really communicated with anybody. So he probably thinks we're just sitting up there, just living our lives and not worrying about the road, but we are.
Sure, and I've spoken with them several times since
Okay.
since I was informed of this last week, and we're coming to an agreement. We're working internally on how we want to approach this and how we want to figure out how to resolve this issue. It's just
Okay.
it's still new to us.
Right.
So I apologize that I can't
No.
sign up and I do.
Pass some of those up.
We will.
Mr. Pryor, you had you had a good point. You were saying about going ahead, and if the road was, brought up to standards, and you know what my fear is? The town still wouldn't accept it. Yeah, because the section,
That's right, and it's legit because it's got to be approved at town meeting. And it takes, just one vote on the wrong side to not get the majority.
The selectmen have to approve it first, too.
Yeah.
There's a process for that as well. The way it's set up, acceptance only take place in the Springtown meeting because of the long process that you have to go through to get a street accepted.
So all the things we talked about tonight are certainly one option, but I think the selectmen are a good place to start with, say, hey, we have this opportunity right now, but it's, if we make this agreement, there's no guarantee for the applicant, and so there's really kind of no close to the circle. But, this has been going on, guys, for 20 years, and really need to, what sort of recommendations can you make while we've got this golden hour to make something happen? What recommendations can you make to us, and make this right? You're the town, these people live in the town, they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. How can you help us?
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Could I just ask one question? Dawn, is there still any kind of surety for that past subdivision?
Very little,
Like
$166.
$156? That's not gonna get you guys a lawyer.
Here you guys.
We-
$156.
I asked if there was any surety money left in the Partridge Hill Estates subdivision, because sometimes we have subdivisions that are never really closed out, which I believe this one is one of them. And he said there's like $150 left in the account, so that's not gonna hire you a
go pretty
lawyer,
far.
but
It probably only had $150.
You buy a tank full of gas for the inspector's truck or something, but
right.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to come up and speak? Okay. So I think at this point, we will,
Still more comments.
sorry. I didn't see it come up. Come on up.
While he's signing in, you said that you spoke with the owner a couple weeks ago when you found out about this issue, which surprised you, obviously.
Yep.
Was the owner surprised when you talked to him about this up?
He seemed unaware of it when I spoke with him about the phone on the phone. I've been speaking with his son and not the Mr. Dershowitz, the actual property owner. And so I know that he was looking into having his lawyer review the letter and everything. And it's just, I spoke with him yesterday and I'm going to talk to him tomorrow. So.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. My name is Kenneth Wilson, and I am the elder senior citizen at the top of Partridge Hill Road. My wife and I have lived there for the past 9 years, and I've been privy to this war going on between both Mr. Dershmitt and the town of Dudley. Now, Pat mentioned that the town did agree to plow and sand the road up there in the wintertime, which they have done. However, they don't pick up the sand and the salt in the spring. I talked to the driver on the sweeper, and I know this is beside the point, but I just want to make clear some of the issues that we are faced with up there. I talked to the driver on the sweeper and asked him why he wasn't sweeping the road up there. And he said he had orders that he had to stop there. So he would stop where that road began and then go 100 yards or so around the circle and back down before he lowers his brush again.
Can I just say, he was there today and I tried to chase him down the road. They don't even know where the line is, what's public and what's private, because they did in front of the Soldani Coakley residence, which is on the private portion of the road. But they got to my property line, picked up the brush, went around the circle, came back, put it down on my, and that's, they did part of the private road, but not the whole private road. It's ridiculous, because I don't think they even know where it is.
Shovel it and find a place to dispose it.
Yeah, we did that initially. We swept the road ourselves up there, picked up all the sand and salt in a wheelbarrow and dragged it down the hill, but I'm not even sure that's a appropriate thing to do. So, I mean, we've had problems not only relating to Mr. Derschmidt, but also the town of Dudley. Now, I don't know what the war is all about up there, but I feel like we're cut off from the rest of the town in terms of the services we get or the attention we can command about that particular area up there.
Yeah.
And it's not a good situation. Right now, if you drove up there around that circle, you'll find that certain areas there's about 4 or 5 inches of sand and salt, and just as much on our front lawns and everything else. So I guess I'm taking from this meeting that the only leverage that we have to do anything about this road is with this gentleman here and his...
And appealing to the selectmen.
And the what?
And appealing to the selectmen.
Okay, well, we can try that again. I know they were up there once, and I never heard what came out of that, but
Yeah, it's likely that's probably why the town is plowing and sanding, is because of your appeal to the selectmen. You know, not to sound insensitive, but the town doesn't have any obligation to go up there and sand and plow. That's Derschmidt's responsibility, but he knows that we know, or the town knows that it's not gonna be done, so they do it. It's not a good answer, it's not a good solution, but they're doing, again, I hate to even say it because it sounds insensitive, but it's not the town's responsibility, right?
Yeah, I suppose that's right. So we're caught between a rock and a hard place here, you know?
Well, like I said, I think, you know, the rock may have softened a little bit here in that you've got some opportunity right now. I think now's the time to strike, and we've recommended two avenues. You know, you've got an applicant that has sensitivity and is trying to forge a relationship or a partnership with the actual person that can make all this stuff happen. So there's one, and the second is, again, I would just continue to stay in front of the selectmen and share with them the number of years that this has been going on. And, you know, this is Derschmidt being creative about, yeah, you said it was sale, but now it's lease, and, you know, let's do something about this.
All right. As far as the solar farm itself, I would have no objection to that going in down there personally. That's my personal opinion.
Okay.
But I know with everything that we've been through over the years, and a lot of these people are a lot longer than I've been up there, we need to get this resolved, you know, because it's just going to go downhill from there.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, I appreciate it.
Thanks for your time, Kenneth.
Put the guns to it.
Mr. Chair, could you query the audience and see, just by a show of hands, if that road issue was resolved? What would they have any objection to that solar overlay district, just out of curiosity?
And if they were smart, they'd all raise their hand, right, John? Hi, Liz.
I'm back. I will have the year wrong, I am sure, but I think like in through 97 or 98, the town did vote to approve that road. And I know it's not your board. We will bring it up again in front of the, when we go before the selectmen. We've been through that, and then however it fell through the cracks. Again, we're left holding the bag.
Yeah.
All right, and I'll get your card. when you
Sure.
have a chance.
Yep, of course.
Thank you.
Oh, they approved the plowing, not the road.
That's not happened.
Thank you for your honesty. Okay. I'll close the public hearing? Sure. We all set? We did hear everything you said. we do understand and empathize with where you're at, and the applicant's nodding his head and does as well. So I think we definitely made some progress. I think we gave you guys some good opportunities to kind of look in a couple different directions, but I think if there's ever been an opportunity, it's now. We'll certainly support the best we can to help make this work for you. Okay?
I agree, and I just want to say thank you to everyone for coming out tonight. Your comments are well received, so thank you.
Okay. At 8:15, we will close the public hearing. We will close the public hearing.
Yeah, we don't have to.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, could I volunteer to go to the Board of Selectmen and maybe explain some of the specifics for this project to them if at one of their meetings?
You guys might want to listen to the request or the question that just one of the board members had made. So you want to repeat it?
Yes, my question was, I was looking for the board to approve my going to a Board of Selectmen meeting and explaining this or some of the technical points to the Board of Selectmen so that they could understand what the situation is, either at their next meeting or the meeting right after that, because I know we are under some kind of time crunch here. But I would be willing to do that as a member of the planning board if the other members are okay with that.
Yep.
Appreciate that. I certainly think that Guy would probably be a very good spokesperson for that, in that he's very familiar with the area. He's been on the planning board for on and off over the past 12 years. So I think that he would be able to help explain the details and get your point across as best as anyone could to the selectmen. So yeah, we certainly support that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Excuse me, Mr. Horn, if you do go, is there some way you could notify, so that would be a night we would be at the meeting?
I'm gonna ask Don if he could put a request in with Michelle, the Board of Selectmen secretary, to have me on the next Board of Selectmen meeting.
Okay.
So it'll be the very next one, whatever it is, and if you go onto the town website, it should tell you what the next. Yeah.
I believe it's not this coming Monday, but the one after it. Well, obviously, it's not this Monday, it's a holiday, but it's the one after this, the
23rd.
April 23rd, that's right, yeah.
We meet every 2 weeks.
Thank you.
If anyone wants my card or wants to chat, we can just go outside.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
See you, Ed. Okay. Moving on, unfinished and old business, not a public hearing, preliminary subdivision plan, 20 single-family lots with access to 27, access across from 27 Jesse Road, four lots, Dudley Realty Trust applicant.
Come on up, Jeff. Have a seat.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Joe Abasamra. I'm here representing the applicant. I work for Ranger Engineering and Design. There's two new faces, so I'm going to run down the overall, what we're overall going to do. I'm going to go through the existing conditions and the what we're proposing.
Mr. Chair, can I have a question for Don?
Yeah.
As my role as an alternate, I only vote on anything that's a special permit. I cannot vote on, this wouldn't be a special permit, right?
No.
And so my only involvement with this subdivision would be if one of the other members isn't there for the final vote?
Oh, you can't.
I can't
act
vote
on
at
this-
all on it.
You can't act on this
I can't act on this property in any way.
right. Only special permits.
Only special permits. All right, thank you for clarifying that.
It's under zoning, it's not under subdivision control law.
Okay,
It's under chapter 40, 48, not 41.
okay.
All right, so as a quick review to the two new faces, I was here 4 weeks ago. I originally presented this, and it's this is a existing undeveloped lot between Mason Road and Alton Drive. It's 27, the address is 27 Jesse Road. On the right-hand side, which is the east side, this whole right-hand side is mostly all wetland. The left-hand side, between Alton Road and the row of houses that are there, comes from a very steep, behind the houses is a very steep grade all the way down to, it's majority flat, wooded area. What we are what we are pursuing is 20 single-family lots, and they'll all be to the code or to the bylaw, to the subdivision bylaw, except we would request one waiver of the length of the road and the number of houses for that road. The length of the road per the bylaw is 600 feet and 12 houses. We're going to propose an 800 plus, or more like 850 Longfoot Road to the end of the cul-de-sac with 16 houses on the frontage of it. A couple issues that were discussed last time was the driveway over lot 20, which kind of throws out the definition, throws out sort of lot 20 per the definition of a frontage. But other than that, there'll be one house on Jesse Road, and then coming down, there'll be 16 houses wrapped around and one lot on the eastern side, right at the bottom of Jesse Road where the hill kind of stops. We're proposing E1 grinder pumps per unit. They'll be pumped up into a force main for the sewer. There'll be no septic on site, and it's so low. We're going to pump it up into the main on Mason Road. We're also proposing a 8-inch water main from Mason and connecting it all the way to Alton Drive. And then in the middle where our proposed road is, we're going to have a fire hydrant with the water coming all the way down, a fire hydrant in the middle, and a fire hydrant at the very end. We also discussed this plan doesn't show any lighting or anything like that. We discussed putting at least minimum of two lighting, one in the intersection of Jesse Road and our proposed road, and then one at the very end at minimum. We also discussed the steep grading. You can see these are 2-foot contours. It's basically all the lines on the east side. And we proposed and discussed talking about putting retaining walls instead of cutting all the way up the hill and kind of disturbing the whole hill, a whole wooded area that's stable as of right now. Other than that, the right-hand side is all open. We would be deeding it all to open space. It would be non-buildable. We will still have to figure the issue of a 50-foot frontage onto the subdivision road or access to it. The alternative for not pulling any waivers would be, let me flip this over. So this is the alternative for not pulling or asking for any waivers from the planning board itself. It's the same exact road, 800 feet long, except for we're coming up and we're connecting to Alton Drive up a vacant lot that the property owner actually owns that lot too. So he could join them together. We originally submitted a preliminary subdivision plan that just showed the first alternative, because we'd rather not go up the road. As you can see, you guys can't see from there. I do have some handouts if you guys want to look closer at it. But as a quick summary, this is only 5-foot contours. And do you guys have any copies of this?
Yes, we have it.
Yeah. 8.5 by 11, yes.
So the maximum grade for a minor road is 12%. And where we have our proposed road so low in that undeveloped land coming up to Alton, it barely makes the 12%. There's no quite level landing coming up onto Alton Road, and there's not a quite level landing coming onto our actual road itself. We don't gain anything from this other than we don't have to ask you guys for a waiver. We're not gaining any house lots. We're actually we might be losing from, because we have to pull in so much fill, and we also have to construct about 350 feet to 400 feet long of extra of road than what we originally would. So that is my summary. I also talked to the Water and Sewer Department. They gave us 20 permits. I'm sure you guys might have the letter. They already gave us 20 permits for water, and they actually requested us to use the E1. The only issue with the E1 that their other Water and Sewer Department people brought up was odor from the actual force main, that they still approved us to use the E1, but we're working with the actual E1 designers to bring that up, because they actually designed the whole system. They size all the pipes and they make sure everything. So, and Mahoney, this is beyond our planning board perspective, but Mahoney's the only distributor in all of New England, so I'm sure they've heard of the problem. So I have been talking to a rep that has assured me that they can design around that. Other than that, you guys did send the actual planning board, the preliminary plan, and this sketch plan to Jeffrey Walsh, and I'll leave it up to him.
So you've heard of, some of you have heard of Jeff, but you may not have met him. So.
You what?
A lot of you heard of.
Have we heard of
you've
Jeff
heard
before? Who's Jeff Walsh?
But you may not have met
Who
him.
the heck is Jeff Walsh?
New
Welcome,
people.
Jeff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Dan? Kevin? Cam, have you?
Yeah.
Okay, and John.
Good evening, everybody. For the record, my name is Jeff Walsh. I'm with Graves Engineering. I'm your engineer. I work for you. There's two familiar faces on the board, plus Don, who I met when he started here. Unfortunately, most of you look new to me, but you've got more experience on the board than I do, John. I've only been here about 10 years working for you. Nevertheless, it's nice to be before you. Thank you for the work. We appreciate working with this board and with the town of Dudley. And as long as Graves Engineering has been working for the town of Dudley for the 10 years or so, I've been the person in charge and responsible to report to you and to the town planner. That said, yes, we were asked to do a peer review of the preliminary plans. I recognize they are preliminary plans. They're not proposing construction yet. These are, I look at a preliminary plan as the basis for discussion between the board and the applicant and the engineers with respect to issues that may arise and so forth. To that end, I had some comments in here, and I'll get to the comments in a minute, but I had some comments that at definitive, the applicant needs to look at this, needs to look at that. There are other comments in here that I have that certainly need to be addressed. And certainly, you know, one of the major issues, if you will, is the length of the dead-end street, because it's not compliant with the subdivision rules and regs. The applicant has requested a waiver, and I recognize that the board would consider whether or not to grant the waiver. That's certainly not your peer reviewer's decision. But I can help you when you have questions, engineering-related questions. And that's my role, is to give you the advice you need. So to that end, we'd like to communicate in writing. I issued our first review letter on April 10th, and that spoke to the plans that consisted of the 800-foot-long dead-end street. After issuance of that plan, we did receive the SK sketch, which in the world of engineering, it's not a preliminary plan, but it's a good piece of information. It's called an SK sheet or a sketch. And basically what I see the purpose of that plan is to convey, the applicant wished, and his engineer wished to convey to the board here, what the project might look like if there were to be a compliant subdivision street. And I'd like to start with that letter if I could. It's a supplement. It's a supplement to our initial review letter, and I apologize, I had the wrong date. Our initial review letter was issued April 2nd, and that has to do with the preliminary plan, the 800-foot-long street. Our second letter, which is our supplement, was issued April 10th. Now, I'd like to approach the board, and hopefully the cord's long enough, because I can summarize this letter very quickly. Basically, you have the same layout of what they're calling Road A, but they've added Road A extension, which is this road from here to here. And this sheet here looks in the two-dimensional layout, the horizontal layout. This is the profile of this street here. This is the profile of this street here. And quite simply, I have some concerns with respect to vertical alignment. Vertical alignment is how the road goes up and down. You have things in a road called vertical curves. This is a crest vertical curve. This is a sag vertical curve. So basically, on this road here, they're proposing to come in, go up a little bit, then come down a little bit, then go up again to this point, which is the intersection of this road and here. What they're trying to do is raise the elevation of this road, which is down here, to better meet this road over here. Moving along this road from this high point here, then they go down the hill a little bit to the cul-de-sac, and then they go back up. The end of the cul-de-sac would drain down that way. I've got some concerns about the vertical curves. Those are pretty easy to fix. The rate of change of grade is called a K-value, and you need to have a minimum certain K for different design speeds, so that as you're driving, you can see over the hill, or as you're driving on a sag curve like over here, your headlights illuminate far enough ahead that you can see and actually stop. The area you need to see is illuminated. Those are easy fixes. Normally for subdivision street, you would design any vertical layout for at least 30 miles an hour, typical. Yeah, I don't expect anyone would get up to 30 miles an hour here, nor should anyone get to 30 miles an hour on this street, but they probably would. But the point is, that's the design criteria anyways. No reason to go any higher on the design speed. This road here I have concerns about. Again, this is a sketch to give you an idea of what the things would look like. Normally you have a leveling zone when you come off of any street. Wherever you have an intersection, you have a leveling zone. That's an area the cars or vehicles can stop and reasonably pull out in slippery conditions, and they can come to a stop at the bottom, and leveling zones weren't provided here. The subdivision rules and regs right now don't have a requirement for leveling zones, but good engineering practice, there needs to be leveling zones. Mass DOT certainly recognizes leveling zones, and I did in my letter reference the leveling zone requirement there, and I'd urge the board that if this plan were going to be pursued, we follow those requirements. It's very prudent. Trailer trucks, fire engines, those types of things would have trouble without the leveling zones. So if a leveling zone were provided, you would see the road come up here, you would see the road come up here. This section at 12%, which does comply with subdivision rules and regulations, that is the maximum slope for this type of street. This 12% grade would get much shorter or might not even exist. But the important thing is this point down here, where the two roads come together, that would have to come up much higher than what it is already. That, in turn, would require even more fill than what this plan currently proposes. A lot more fill out here. Quite frankly, a lot of trucking into the site, a lot of impact on the environment. And in my personal opinion, it's probably not a good solution. But to the applicant's engineer's point, it's a compliant plan. With respect to horizontal layout, we still have some vertical issues to deal with. So, that's where I stand on the SK plate. And if I could go back to my April 12th letter, basically, I'd rather not spend a lot of time here talking to you about every little thing. But I will say that it's the length of the dead-end street notwithstanding, you've got a preliminary plan that gives a lot of information. I don't have an issue with the horizontal layout. I don't think I had any major concerns beyond the issue of the dead-end street. But there are some things that the applicant certainly should take care of. If I can go down the letter, number one, lot 19 seems to have about 97 feet of frontage. This is not a definitive plan. They're gonna have to come back with you with a definitive plan. I was scaling, the plans. It does seem to be deficient. I would expect that they would make an adjustment in lot layout, in order to achieve the required frontage. So it looks like it could be a major issue, but I think it would be a minor issue. They seem to have the lot frontage on other lots that they could make some adjustments. One thing I would like to point out, and I'm gonna try to find my comment number. I apologize, it's somewhere in the subdivision rules and regs sections, but there's a culvert that goes across Jesse Road right here. It's an 18-inch diameter culvert, and there was some water running in it the other day when Mr. Johnson and myself were out to the site. That is going to need to be addressed as they go forward. Whatever water comes out of that's going to have to be conveyed across the developed area, because eventually that water gets from the wetland system here to the wetland system here. The topography tells me that unless it infiltrates into the soils, it probably follows this path right about here and comes across the site somewhat like that. So that will need to be addressed.
Comment number 5.
Thank you.
Yeah. Pick that up the other day.
Yes, thank you. I think what I'd like to do now is, rather than go on and on and on, I think I've given you the high points of my review. I would be glad to discuss any of the specific points raised in our letters, or answer any questions you have, or kind of we'll turn this more into a discussion type of meeting for a few minutes, if I could.
Questions?
Jeff, with your experience in a property such as this, with the grading that they're talking about on the left-hand side for the lots on the left-hand side of the road, I'm guessing, because I'm looking at the grade change there, and he already mentioned that they were gonna propose retaining walls. This isn't gonna be something like you go down to Home Depot, buy those kind of retaining wall blocks, that's not gonna hold this kind of earth back. We're talking about a commercial retaining wall here, right?
The retaining walls would certainly have to be designed to withstand the horizontal loads. The type of blocks you're referring to, one manufacturer that used to be very, very popular is Versalock. There's a number of manufacturers now, but those are about the 8x16 size blocks. Those by themselves can't withstand the lateral pressure of earth for much of a height. Usually those are designed along with what's called reinforced earth systems, where behind the wall, you'd have the wall block, you'd have a width of about 1 foot of crushed stone where water would drain down. Then you'd have lifts of gravel and geotextiles strung out. That reinforced earth behind the wall is actually creating all the strength, and the block is more for aesthetics and to hold the erosion from occurring. So to answer your question, it could possibly be with one of those types of block, but the wall system, including the reinforced earth and the specific wall block, that would have to be designed, and normally those manufacturers can provide that type of design.
Okay.
Are we talking about the front yards or the rear yards, retaining walls?
On the left side, the way we're looking at the plan, we're looking at the rear yards.
Okay.
Yep. The plans do propose a 3-to-1 slope on both the left side, which is a earth cut situation, and on the extreme right side, which is an earth fill situation.
Mhm.
3-to-1 slopes are pretty comfortable. You can put a lawnmower up and down them. An earth slope would work as well. Retaining walls would also work. Given the change in elevation on the left side, I'd like to think maybe they'd consider not one tall wall, but 2 shorter walls with a space in between, because there's be quite a bit of elevation there.
Okay.
Those are outside the right-of-way, but still the same. It's a feature of the project, so it's well worthy of discussion here at the planning board level.
And that's something that they can provide the specs to you on, and you can look at it and let us know that that's gonna be okay and safe, because we don't wanna have the houses built and then a year later find out that people are having, their backyards caving in.
Understood. We could look at the retaining walls in the context of how they jive with the definitive. When it comes to structural designs of those and the structural component of geotechnical engineering, we don't provide that service, so we wouldn't do a peer review of the design of the reinforced earth system. If the board wanted to engage that, you certainly could do so, and we could make some recommendations. But I think that's something that would be farther down the road.
Right.
First of all, normally what I see with other municipalities is a design, if it's brought forward with retaining walls, would show the walls, and the site engineer would design, I need a top of wall elevation of this and bottom wall elevation of that. But normally, even at definitive, that's when that wall system is normally presented as far as the specific details of how long, how tall, and so forth. But usually we don't see the actual design of the wall system itself until after a definitive approval, the contractor would engage the supplier in their geotech to give the wall plan for what's actually gonna be built then.
That's sort of what I was getting at, because if it's in the front yard, it's more of a planning board issue, and if it's in the backyard, it's more of a building inspector issue.
I'm thinking if it's in the right-of-way, it's more of a planning board issue.
Yeah, we
Once it
want it
gets
in the right-of-way.
outside the right-of-way, it's still of concern to the planning board, but you're losing a little jurisdiction there.
Right.
But the short of it is, I think at preliminary level, I wouldn't even expect to see a wall design whatsoever, as far as the reinforced earth type. When it gets to definitive, that's when we'd at least see a good nailed-down site plan showing the lengths of the walls and so forth, heights of the walls. And again, I think after definitive would be, when construction starts, that's when the design of the wall should be brought forward. And
So-
depending upon the wall height, it may fall under the jurisdiction of the building inspector.
Okay. But do you see that this could be taken care of before, or maybe not installed, but the design could be nailed down before we would give lot releases?
That's a very good question. The reason I'm struggling with this is that the retaining walls are outside the right-of-way. They're outside any easements, municipal easements. And it's getting into that gray area that it's not cleanly falling within the jurisdiction of the planning board for approving the actual design, because it's on the lot. But yet it's not part of the dwelling and the structure, so I'm seeing a disconnect on the building department side as well.
Right, but
Until building code, structures of a certain height, retaining walls,
5 feet, is it?
at some point, they are triggering building permit.
okay.
And that's, to answer your question, without a doubt, if it triggers a building permit, that's when submittal of the plans.
I mean, I personally am just looking at it from a safety aspect. I wouldn't want to see, we release a lot, they start building a house, and we have a wet spring or a wet fall, and next thing you know, there's a house with a mudslide up against the back of it.
You've got a good point, or the mudslide actually encroaches off the property and onto the abutting properties.
Right.
That's,
Not to mention somebody falling off a wall.
I think it would, this issue would be good for further discussion at the definitive stage, because I do have concerns about the fact that with the glacial till that's out at the site, the anticipated groundwater depths and glacial till, there'd be groundwater seepage from the slopes or even the base of the slopes that need to be dealt with. There'd be some pumps in the basement that, because there's, the foundation drains can't make daylight on the lots on the left side of the street, and there is a comment in the letter about that. So with definitive, these types of details, how to deal with the height of the walls, fencing at the top of the walls, drainage to deal with the walls or slopes, foundation drains, how to deal with that effluent. I wouldn't want to see the foundation drain, some pumps just being discharged to the front yard, because it's probably going to flow down into the gutter, and in the cold winter, that becomes an icing problem right along the path of the flow.
Sometimes the sump pumps go right into a catch basin.
Some communities will allow that tied
I've seen
into
it
the
allowed in
drainage
some
system.
places, yes.
I'm sorry?
I've seen it allowed in some places, right?
Yep. Some communities prefer not to have that type of connection. Other communities allow it. In my opinion, with the risk of discharging some pump effluent into the road and causing ice in the winter, it's worthy of working out an agreement with the developer. But again, I think that's the level of detail after preliminary, but during definitive.
Am I counting the elevations correctly, or the elevation lines correctly? There's an elevation difference of 22 feet, or is it higher?
Between where and where?
Between the houses that are on Ashburton Road and at the bottom of the slope.
It's Alton Drive.
Alton Drive, that's what.
Alton Drive. I think there might be a little bit more.
I think it might be a little bit more than that.
Yeah, the existing elevation down here where that other road was intersecting, and here, there's about 45 feet difference between here and here, before the fill is placed to put this road in. Now, this road here, without the connecting road, is proposed at a lower elevation than the same road on the other plan.
Right.
Yeah. But again, from existing elevation to existing elevation before any fill's placed, there's a 45-foot difference.
Yeah, I mean, the people that live on that side of Alton Drive, the right side of Alton Drive, basically their backyard is gonna be higher than the roofs of the houses that are below.
Right.
Agreed.
Yeah, okay.
So, Joe, did you have an opportunity to look at the town engineer's assessments? Yeah, comments?
Yeah. The main ones that he brought up were the only concerning ones. There was a lot of little stuff that we missed. There was a lot of little things that should have been done before we sent in the preliminary plan. But the major things that we were talking about was definitely the culvert that's crossing the road right now at the bottom of Jesse Road. So not only does it take in water from, that is a open space back there, there's a little bit of a stream. That's actually dry. It actually takes water from somewhere up Jesse Road and it comes down into our site. We were proposing, we're gonna have to move those lots around. We could lose a lot, but right at the end, probably having a manhole to intercept the water and having an 18-inch, or it could be larger, pipe come all the way down to where there's another outlet right there and a head wall where the other stream comes down. That was one of the major concerns that we knew we had to tackle. We knew the culvert was there. We called it out and everything. That was one of the major things. Other than that, there wasn't too many other stuff. Actually, there was a couple other things like the 25-foot easement going at the end of the drive, end of the cul-de-sac to the abutting lot, in case of, not for road or anything, but if they want to continue the water into this other lot, or for pedestrian traffic, or that is a part of your subdivision rules. But there wasn't any major issues that I had, or questions to Jeff personally.
So just as a non-construction person, if I was developing this, I would look at it. I guess the reason why I was asking that question is, there anything in there that you as a developer or the developer has not anticipated, in that, oh yeah, we are gonna have to do, you know, a lot of these things, or certainly consulting town engineer is gonna recommend that we do certain things. We may lose a lot here, we may lose a lot there. Is it, I mean, what is the point of diminishing returns on this sort of thing, you know?
So, I'm representing the developer as a civil engineer.
Right.
So, we're showing it as best as we can fit the site and to not completely destroy the site just for an extra house kind of stuff.
Right.
The developer knows that the site hasn't been built on. There's a reason it hasn't been built on, because it's not a perfect lot to build on. He does know about all this extra stuff, and we mostly showed you this preliminary plan to make sure that we don't go into too much actual detail and all the showing of everything if you guys don't even want the road in the first place kind of stuff. So we more showed you this. We know all the stuff that we have to do. There's nothing blaring that was called out that we didn't really know.
Okay.
We more just want to have a sort of okay to keep it going with this, basically.
You know, the other part of it as a homeowner, you know, I'm looking at, I wanna, you know, I'm gonna buy a new house, and, you know, and my backyard is, you know, a ledge, right? And then the basement's got pumps and all kinds of sort of thing. Those are the sort of things that come into mind when I, you know, decide to buy a home. And
Yeah, exactly.
anyway, obviously, I'm sure that's that's thought out, but. Yeah. And as far as us not, you know, wanting the road there or whatever, I mean, if you meet all the requirements, we have no business blocking, you know, any of that. It's just, at some point, those are just the sort of things that, you know, come to mind when I, you know, when I look at a project like this. But obviously, your client has done many of these, and I'm sure has thought through all of that, but I was just curious.
So,
Mr. Chairman, as I see it, at this stage, the preliminary plan stage, it's worthy of discussion between the board and the applicant of their waiver request, any other major issues, and when I say major issues, major design issues that they'd have to address, major financial things if the board's gonna ask for certain things. Those are good topics to be dealt with during this preliminary plan review phase. So that, putting myself in the shoes of a design engineer, I'd wanna know, okay, am I going forward with the design of that connecting road or not? That of course is critical. Am I going forward with the design of the road as currently proposed at the 800-foot length? Or is the waiver gonna be denied, and I'm gonna have to go with a 600-foot length, and then his client would have to make the decision, do we wanna pursue the connecting road and the extra cost to fill or not?
Right.
That's where we're at here.
Sure.
If there's any off-site improvements beyond those called out already by the sewer and water department, now's a good time to discuss
Yeah.
those.
There has been some discussion about sidewalks on Jesse Road.
Yeah, we did. I discussed that with my boss and the developer, and he actually thought it was a good idea to continue it, especially in front of the, coming up to Jesse Road, coming down Jesse Road and coming down the other side. We probably won't do anything where the frontage is now on 20, because that's mostly wetland over there. I don't think we'd put anything far that way, but definitely towards the left going up to Alton. We discussed last meeting, and we were talking about it, and we probably will propose the sidewalks going down that side.
so 1, 2, 18, and 19 would have, those lots would have sidewalks in front of them.
Yes.
That would be good, because I just think, like, if the school bus decides it's not gonna go down there, those people that live at the end of the street, their kids have to walk up. They're not standing on somebody's front lawn, they're standing on a sidewalk.
I was there
Bus.
today, actually, and so I parked the truck across the street. But there's always people walking up and down the road.
Yeah.
There's- Might as well be sidewalks if we're gonna.
Okay. That would be good. And I think you mentioned earlier that you didn't show it on the plan, but you do know that there's the requirement for the 50-foot entrance into the open space, and you'll fit that into the frontage somewheres.
Yeah, so that was clarification I'd like to get from you guys. It does say a 50-foot frontage on a road. So obviously it should be on the subdivision road. There's more than adequate 50-foot frontage along Jesse. So this whole left side, this whole right side is open space. As of right now, it's all open space. would you like to see that frontage move to our road? Or would you agree that the frontage stays on that road and we'll have an access easement of, because we're gonna need an easement, we're gonna need several easements coming down for the, we wanna put the storm detention pond over there, or whatever we do, it's probably gonna be that way. Would you guys like to see and need to see a 50-foot frontage along the proposed road, or would the Jesse Road be?
So the way I understood the 50-foot frontage on the road was, there was the hope that somewheres in your open space, there would be a part of it, or a parcel of it, that's usable for the abutters. And I know you're gonna put a detention basin in there, and I know you have wetlands, but I don't know if, like, behind lots number 20 and lots number 16 and 15 there, if there is a little bit of flat space there that's not in the wetlands, could that entranceway go into there? So, like, you know, the neighborhood kids would have a place to go play, not in the middle of the street. They'd have a little field behind the houses that they could go play in, or something like that. That was what the intended purpose of the open space was for, and a 50-foot access for the people to get to it.
Yeah. So, like, most likely, Lot 20 is gonna be gone because of the arrangement of this. So that leaves a lot of open space, a lot of upland.
Right.
Upland right there. We will be putting a detention pond. Don't know the size yet, don't know how big. We could even incorporate underground infiltrators and stuff in the road. Most likely we won't. But yeah, that's a good space for it. There's also a little bit of upland beyond this wetland that I don't know, we haven't gone fully survey. We have to finish up the survey along this whole east side, basically. We don't do so much detail at first because it's wetland. We usually don't build in it, but if there is upland up there too. But yeah, we can definitely consider, obviously you want a decent open space to play in, and
Yeah, I mean,
that's the whole point of it.
I mean, if we had a 10 or 15,000 square foot spot that was available, I think that's, because you're in a Res 15 area, so that's reasonable.
Chair?
Yeah.
Just two things that jump out at me. For the existing homeowners on Alton Drive, you're gonna have to have some sort of safety fence running across the back. I mean, what is that gonna look like, and who's gonna be responsible to maintain that fence 35 years from now?
So as of right now, it's all woods. A couple of the houses do have fences in the back. I was a person out there surveying it, so a lot of the houses, they have older fences in the back. There's nothing really structurally. If we do grade up, we would most likely put a fence up there, especially if we put walls. They're probably at the top of the wall, maybe 4 feet behind the wall. If we put walls, not only would it be to save the cutting and grading up the hill, but also save a little bit of not cut land right there. So we'd probably put it either on the top of the wall or right behind the wall. For the grading itself, we could put one, you could propose a fence. It would still be on our property. Whoever the homeowners are will be responsible to maintain it.
Anything that calls for in the building code that calls for that, you know? Anybody know that?
I think,
Wall protection.
I think after 4 feet, if a wall's over 4 feet, you need a fence over it.
Okay. And then the other thing was about the wetlands. I mean, have you actually gone to conservation and actually flagged the wetlands where they currently are today, and not based on GIS?
No, this is not based on GIS. This is all, our consultant actually went out and did it.
Okay.
Lucas Environmental, I think they're out of Harvard, Mass, or somewhere up there. He has gone out and flagged the wetlands. We haven't gotten in contact with the Conservation Commission, but we are going to. We wanted to present this to you first, but yeah, we have to go. And it'll be a whole separate thing for them anyway, but we have not gone out there and actually told them or asked them or anything like that yet.
And forgive me if I'm asking this and it's in the package, because I haven't had a chance to read the whole thing through, but last time you were here, we spoke about maybe you should talk to the fire chief with regards to the cul-de-sac and the additional length. Were you able to talk with him?
So I talked to the, I talked to the fire chief on the phone. I also talked and had a meeting with, I think his name was Dan from the highway department.
Yeah.
Dan's only request was Right now, it's a 26-foot wide road. It's part of your subdivision. He requested a 24-foot, so a reduction in the road width
Yep.
for plowing, because the regular 10-foot plow is a 12, probably the 10-foot plow. You can pass it twice. He requested to keep the island in the middle. The only request of the fire chief was to get rid of the island.
Right. They
So
don't-
that's gonna be gone.
They don't like
Have
them.
any-
Yeah,
they don't have
so-
any problem with the length.
Right.
They
Neither
both
one
had,
did. It's the fact that there were 3 hydrants over there, just, you know, deconstructing the street, he's good with that.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
3 fire hydrants.
But he didn't,
He
said
doesn't
something
want
about
the
the
island.
length.
Yeah.
No, I heard that part, but he said something about the length?
He doesn't care about
Nothing.
He doesn't care about the length of the road?
Danny did.
No, Danny wanted the round.
yeah, Dan,
One
the
of the
highway
island.
department.
He wanted the island, but the fire chief says no, for public safety, you can't get a truck around the island.
But neither of them had an issue with the length of the road. There was small issues that Danny that asked about, he asked about maybe a little bit of coming up. I don't know if we're actually gonna come up at the very beginning of Jesse Road, or maybe just have like a speed table or something, so the water doesn't come into our site, especially if we're grading the whole thing down to a low point, to one low point. So we're gonna incorporate that. His only other concern was there was minor ones. There was no stop sign proposed on this side. Obviously, there's gonna be stop signs and
Right.
stuff like that, but no major issues.
I just have one question about the length of, why would it be a rule for 600 foot? Does anybody know that? Do you know why?
Just because for larger equipment going down there, like if the fire department probably took their ladder truck down, it still may not turn around at the end of the cul-de-sac. They may have to back all the way back up.
So why would we cap it at 600?
Because how far do you want to back up a truck?
Oh, so they don't want it at the 800? That's the only reason?
No, I'm just saying that's what it was in the past. That's what it was in the past.
The
Why-
length of the road determines, how far do you want to, if you have to back
Back
up a
up.
vehicle, how far do you want to back
Back it
up?
up, right.
Because that's one of your waivers, correct, that you want? So that's, I guess I'm confused with that. There has to be a reason.
Right, it's just if
Just
something
the
big goes
backing up.
down there and they can't turn around, they have to back up, so what is a safe distance to back up a large vehicle? Or if there was an emergency down there where something was in the road and they couldn't turn around, so they had to back up,
Mm-hmm.
Because maybe the cul-de-sac is big enough, but there's something blocking them, a car accident or what have you. But we do, I think it's no secret, we do have, we do have cul-de-sacs in Dudley that are longer than this. The road that we just were talking about is a lot, George Smith's Road is a lot longer, it's a cul-de-sac and it's a lot longer than this road.
To your question, I'm going to give you a fuzzy answer. I've also heard, well, first of all, I do a lot of municipal consulting. I deal with a lot of planning boards, a lot of municipalities, a lot of ZBAs, a lot of 40Bs, a lot of conservation consulting. And I'm a conservation commissioner myself in my own town. I don't remember what town, it's been a number of years. The length of the cul-de-sac was being debated in a community that I was consulting to. And somebody, it might have been an attorney, but brought up that it kind of went back to planning and how many lots would typically be served from a road of X number of feet. And there was some theoretical magic number about, it's preferred not to have more than X number of dwelling units served by a dead-end street. That's one story as to what I've heard at the state level, how it came to be, because many municipalities have requirements of around a 500, 600-foot long dead-end street is the maximum. I've seen some other communities that go up to maybe 1,000 or even 1,900 feet. I think it was 1,000, but usually you see them around 500. So my point is they seem to be coming from the same original requirement, probably at the state level, and it goes, again, I'm sorry for the fuzzy answer, but it could be another reason above and beyond, or in addition to how far a vehicle would have to go before they have to back out. My experience with turnarounds like that, and I used to drive a trailer truck, 100-foot diameter on the paved surface is great because I can come in, make one move, and go back out. The tires on the trailer that I was pulling basically spun around the middle of the cul-de-sac. So that's why our comment suggests no island. I appreciate where Mr. Guyan's coming from, and I've worked with him on a few of the older subdivisions that we had to go through years ago. But the point is, you know, my advice would be, you don't want to put an island a vehicle can't mount. You don't want to put bushes there, you don't want to put trees there. If it's grass and it's slope curbing and you can pull the truck up over it, that's great for a truck driver, but it's not good for the fire department. They need a good hard surface. So again, you know, that's why the cul-de-sacs you see with an island, usually they have an outside diameter of about 190 feet or 160 feet, to get the vehicle to go around without having to have the trailer spin around the middle of the island. So, and this is about roughly 100 foot. There are cul-de-sacs with about 80 feet of pavement. And they work all right too, but the truck driver has to come in, he can only get so far, and he's got to kind of back up a little bit more and then make another pass at it to get out of there. And again, that's for a truck pulling a trailer. A fire engine should have no problem with an outside diameter of even 80 feet, so long as there's enough pavement in the middle.
Yeah, the fire chief actually, his only concern about the island was because they piled the snow there. And the only concern about the highway department wanting the island is so he could put the snow there. So I didn't say that to the fire chief, but
Well, if you have the 25-foot right away at the end of the cul-de-sac, then it does give them a place to put the
snow, yeah.
right. Yeah.
One comment about the 24-foot pavement situation. I've heard from other towns I've worked in that when you have drainage, water and sewer in the street, sometimes you can't fit drain pipes and the sewerage in the right-of-way without them going, without the water pipes going through the drainage. You have to keep 10 feet apart.
That can be a little challenging if they're 10 feet apart and the sewer's down the middle.
Yeah.
So you want to separate sewer and water by at least 10 feet.
So you wouldn't put the sewer right down the middle in the woods?
Sometimes you could put the drainage down the middle, kick the sewer off to one side, the water off to the other side, and they all end up within the paved portion of the road.
How about crossing that sewer pipe with drainage, or the water pipe for that matter? They down lower?
Well, in this case, where they're going with the E1, that's a force main system. You need frost protection, just like with water. It's under pressure, so you can go up and down hills. They're roughly at the same elevation. I'd recommend that they put the sewer down deeper like they're supposed to, so wherever there's a crossing, the sewer is below the water by 18 inches, which is typical for that type of design.
That's what we usually do, is usually cross the sewer. Even if it's a gravity sewer, we try to put the sewer lower and the water higher, or even the drainage higher, just in case if anything leaks, the sewer should go down, not go into the potable water or anything like that. The other issue that was brought up, I don't know if you guys mind or not, or in the sewer and water meeting, they want to know about the crossing of the culvert, which, because it's a force main, it's a lot more flexible than a gravity-fed pipe, so it doesn't have to be at a particular elevation at that point. We're gonna do it so it fits, and also probably sleeve it, we'll encase it in either PVC with concrete, or we're gonna work around that to go over to cross that culvert, the existing culvert.
If I could ask, when you're going to go over the culvert, so you're not going to have the requisite frost protection? I don't review for the sewer and water department. We are sewer and water engineers. I do get concerned if you got a water main going over something like that and you have to insulate it. Insulation doesn't stop cold from getting in, it only slows it down. If you had moving water in a pipe and it's insulated, usually you're fine. I get concerned with force mains. Sometimes they have to be heat traced as well, as if there's a power outage and the power's down for a certain amount of time, you run the risk of freezing up the insulated portion if it's prone to cold weather for too long. There is some heat in it. It's a question of, do all the stars align and something happens, such as that. Again, that's a detail for definitive, and furthermore, that's beyond us as reviewing for this board.
My turn?
Other questions? Sure.
Try to keep it short. I was out there earlier, and the wetlands have already been delineated. I was standing up on Alton Road looking down and got about 10, 15 foot into the site, and I could see wetland flags from there. So there are wetlands towards the left portion of the site.
So the reason we didn't go out and survey the rest of the wetlands on this plan was because he originally went out in December, didn't snow, then it snowed every other weekend. So when we were out there, when we did do these, there was snow on the ground coming out of this culvert. There was still snow that was packed on the ground. And up here, are you talking about, this is Alton Drive and right here, or yeah. So this is the vacant lot.
Right.
There's some sort of wetland right here, because it kind of levels off. And he's going to send me the report. He's going to send us a report tomorrow. We're going to go out and survey and flag that right there. But yes, there is a little bit of a wetland right here.
And that wetland wouldn't disturb or wouldn't stop anybody from building a street there?
Yes, it would. Well, it wouldn't stop us. We just have to go and do a different permit, because it would probably be over 5,000 square feet. We'd have to go to the state. It would bring it up to a different level of permitting. So you can build there. You can build wherever you want. It's just the amount of money and permitting you want to go through.
All right. And just touching on a couple things for the street real quick. The cul-de-sac to the end of it there, it's big enough for a fire truck to turn around in? For a school bus as well?
Yes.
A trash truck, so school bus could theoretically come down the street if need be?
Yes, absolutely.
John asked about maintaining the fence that could be between the two properties there, just because of the fall protection. I haven't seen many retaining walls that after 30 years look good. So if we're having to put retaining walls in there for 40 feet, I'm assuming that the landowners would be responsible for any kind of potential upkeep.
Yeah, they would be.
Or repairs that might be needed after 30 years or so.
Yeah, that something beyond that I can particularly say too, but I'm assuming that if that's an issue, it could be something that could be written into like the deeds or something like that. Almost like a covenant or something like that. I'm not sure.
I've looked at the site and listened to all the comments here, and it seems to me there's a lot of challenges for you guys to overcome. The retaining wall, the potential of the street, that it doesn't make much sense to me right now. But I think that's the slope that was shown in the drawing was exaggerated, correct? I mean, that was
it's
like
a
45.
2 to 1, yeah.
Okay,
It's a.
okay. So that was exaggerated. That looked like it was 45%. So.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. That's all I got right now.
I do just have one quick comment. Completely amateur, not an engineer. But we talked before about lot 20 might be cut out altogether, since we're still in the preliminary phase. If we're looking at redrawing the lines, cutting lots out, it just stands out to me that lot 1 is in a awkward place, especially considering the pipe location, how the water is going to flow, the retaining wall. So since we have a waiver out for 20 lots instead of the usual 16, that could be, I mean, if we're going to be adjusting the waiver down to 19 anyways, might be put it at 18 even.
Yeah, I see what
Not sure
you're.
if that would make the drainage situation better.
We were discussing that as an engineering standpoint. The waiver itself that you're talking about is just for the actual dead-end road.
Right.
So that house really has nothing to do with the road. Like, we could still subdivide and have that house there. But it's probably going to be combined into one house right there because of the culvert coming out and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Just piggyback one last question. We were talking earlier about jurisdiction, in front of or behind the houses and public right of way and everything. I see a lot of issues here with drainage. Grading is going to be crucial. Whose jurisdiction is that? I mean, to me, we're being asked to approve a subdivision based on preliminary plans that aren't going to get into details, potentially not going to have any retaining wall details, et cetera, in it. But there seems like there's going to be a lot of grading issues that are going to be very important. I mean, just for the example, I'm looking at the house on lot number. Let me see if I can see it. 10?
Okay.
And I just see that whole lot right there. The whole is going to be, that house is going to be on a grade, and the backyard is going to be on a grade, and a lot of things that I would like to see personally resolved before we are asked to approve, but that may not be in our jurisdiction from what I'm being told, so.
Mr. Chairman, could I have a crack at that?
Yeah, sure.
You're absolutely right. I'm not suggesting that this board is approving construction of the subdivision. I am suggesting that this board is using the preliminary plan as a mechanism for this discussion that's going on. They would take the information they gain from these discussions. They're gonna go back and they have to prepare definitives, and they have to submit definitive plans to this board for approval before they could go to construction. And the issues that you'd like to see further addressed would be addressed as they design the definitive plans. And again, they would be coming back to this board with a definitive plan application for approval at that time. So you get another bite at the apple, is what I'm getting at.
Besides that, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is over the threshold, and there will be a requirement for, sort of the NIPD's permits and SWIP and all those things.
A SWIP is a stormwater pollution prevention plan, and that's normally, you don't see those till definitive and,
Right,
and
yeah.
or even after definitive.
Right.
Now, when I review these plans at definitive, I'm gonna be reviewing the project, the road layout, all of what I've looked at now, plus all the details, the drainage, the hydrology. The designer has to comply with the Massachusetts DEP stormwater standards in the handbook. I'm gonna review them for that compliance. So, one of the things, the SWIP is actually a federal requirement. Some projects, and similar to that, standard number 8 of the Mass DEP standards requires documentation for construction phase erosion controls. Well, I certainly can have within the jurisdiction of this board, we can review for standard 8. It's not the full SWIP, but it's pretty close to it. The SWIP is a federal requirement. Many engineers will choose to do the SWIP as documentation of their compliance with standard 8 at the state level. And if that's what they would choose to do, I can review that as well, but,
That means stormwater prevention and pollution control plan, right?
yeah, SWPPP, Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan, not to be confused with a spill control and countermeasure plan, which is more to do with hazardous materials in the spill, fuels, chemicals, and so on and so forth. Certain facilities have to have that type of plan. We're dealing strictly with the SWPPP, which is commonly called a SWIP. Sediment and erosion control during construction is a good way to look at it.
So correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, but there's also, I remember this from a previous subdivision or a previous discussion, that they have to mitigate all their runoff for each lot, basically on the lot, because if they, or into their storm drain and detention basin, because they're not allowed to let that, like say, run over into the neighbor's yard and cause him difficulty. They have to mediate all their stormwater either on the lots or within the project itself, and not let it go onto the abutting lots.
You're right in that they have to look at use the perimeter of the subdivision, including the open space land, as the limits, and they'll do with respect to hydrology, they'll do a pre-development analysis, determine the rates, the peak rates of runoff at their various design points, wherever the water goes to, and they have to, in the post-development conditions, make sure that those rates are not increased. They don't have to, for example, they don't have to work on Lot 6 and make sure that the runoff off of Lot 6 doesn't go up. It can go into the road and in through the drainage system into the common stormwater basin.
Right, but they have to calculate for all the impervious areas that they're adding.
That's right.
And all the roofs of the house and all this stuff.
That's right. And when we review subdivisions, we don't just look at the impervious area from the road and the sidewalk. We look at from the house lots, the houses, the driveways, and so on and so forth.
You look at dry wells and all that sort of thing, too?
If they propose dry wells, some applicants will propose dry wells on individual house lots.
Drain spouts, I mean.
Well, with respect to dry wells, some applicants will do that. Some applicants may not be able to do that, and I'll talk to why in a minute, and they may use more of a centralized stormwater basin like what they have here. Where there's a cut condition on the left side of the road, that's not gonna be an area conducive to infiltration on the individual lots. On the right side, they might be able to do that with some of the lots. Downspouts and so forth, when I review hydrology, I'm looking at the impervious surfaces, whether it spills off the roof onto the ground or down the gutters onto the ground, unless there's a drainage system devised for the roof runoff underground being piped somewhere. I assume the water hits the ground proximate to the building, and I look at the grading to see where it goes and make sure that they've modeled we call them subcatchments, the area tributary to the different analysis points. I make sure that the way they modeled it, I'm comfortable with it. And the water's going on paper where it's really gonna go on the ground.
Isn't there a factor too for grass versus initial forest cover?
Yes.
As far as
yes,
runoff
yep.
coefficients and...
That's right. What Don's talking to is just taking a lot that's covered with woods and cutting it down and putting grass on it. There's an inherent increase in peak rates of runoff just because of that, and volumes of runoff as well. Mass DEP talks to peak rates of runoff in the 2 and 10-year storms, and they talk to flooding in the 100-year storms. So in the 100-year storms, sometimes we only have to look at peak rates, but sometimes we have to look at volumes of runoff and where that runoff goes to. I won't belabor the point, but we got you covered.
If I could just add one final thing to Dan. Dan, the planning board, the buck stops here, especially with new development. This is the board that is responsible for the drainage. You've got to be able to sleep good at night, knowing at the end of the day, right, you're relying upon experts, you know, like Graves and the state and all these regulations that they've set up. But once you are the drainage authority.
That's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah, you are.
That's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah, you are. And then once it's accepted and built, then it becomes an issue for the public works and conservation and everything
The
else.
partnership with the Conservation Commission too, because ultimately, it ends up in a wetland. Even if it's more than 100 feet away, the discharge point may be more than 100 feet away, but they will review it. It's sort of like they see it coming and we send it away. Right. Good.
Some good dialogue.
So, sorry to interrupt, but any other comments from the board? No? Okay.
There were a few minor things that we had. I think we addressed most everything though from, you know, some other boards, town agencies and stuff. We addressed the Lot 20 situation, but the building inspector did agree that that wasn't qualified frontage.
Yeah.
You know, going through the other two lots like that. We had a comment from the Board of Health, but they don't have any comments because it's not on septic systems. A few things we'll need to address when the definitive plan comes around about grading and depth of groundwater and things like that, so. Other than that, I think we've gone through just about everything.
Okay.
I agree. Okay. Any other comments from you guys? Great. Thanks, Jeff, for being here.
You're welcome.
Very much.
You're welcome, Mark. And thank you for any of the projects. If you ever feel you need me, let Don know and I'll make sure I get here. But, yeah, we appreciate the work you send our way. And so I think it's been about 10 years or so we've been working on projects now. And,
Yeah.
Yep. And can't remember too many subdivisions though.
Only one, I
There's
think.
another one in the works, so.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
Another 20-unit subdivision.
Okay, gotcha.
It's actually one of those open space subdivisions
Okay.
for one-story condominiums. I think, they told you about that, the one at
I
Old
think you
Fairport
did.
Road.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I know we've done a lot of site plan reviews with you. We've witnessed construction at some of the subdivisions. Pierpont Estates had just been approved when we came on board, so we've been involved with construction at Pierpont. And, But I think I've seen one or two lot subdivisions or extensions of roads. That's still all I can recall, but putting a site plan review.
Missed Tony by about 5 minutes tonight.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He said he's
Yeah,
gonna meet
he's-
you the week of the 23rd, so it'll
Okay.
be fine. The next meeting is on the 25th, so. that's fine.
Okay. Tony was hoping that I would have an opinion as to whether or not he can eliminate his granite curb inlets. What I want to do is look at the capacity. There is some hydraulic capacity that a granite curb inlet at a catch basin offers, because not only does water go through the grate, but the curb inlet, the water goes behind it. And the nice thing about those is when constructed properly, leaf litter doesn't clog it, it falls down into the catch basins. And he's asking to allow, for the board to allow him to eliminate those. And I want to be able to look at it, besides the aesthetic value and whatever opinions the board would have, I just want to be able to offer to you with respect to hydraulic capacity. Are they needed or are they not needed
Do they,
for?
do they make something comparable in like precast concrete?
They do, but they're not nearly as durable.
Okay.
I would suggest that if the board's gonna do anything, stay with granite, because the salt won't work on that the way it will with concrete,
Okay.
or eliminate them altogether. There's some pretty steep grades on the road. Tony made an argument to me as to why he's looking to eliminate them. He says that he feels the drainage system was over-designed, and he says, well, look, there's a lot of catch basins where there's double inlets in close proximity. So what I'm gonna do is and Don provided me the hydrology report that I need, that's got the pipe sizing calculations in it too. I'm gonna go through and look at flow to each of the catch basins and compare that to with whether or not I feel that a granite inlet, the capacity of a granite inlet is needed. Tony's argument was, I've got 2 grates on a catch basin rather than 1 at most of the locations, and I've got a lot of extra capacity that way, so I didn't want to make any kind of, give him a feeling one way or the other what opinion I have until I get my numbers straight. And again, it's this board's decision, and if this board says, look, we like granite curb inlets at every catch basin, and we want them everywhere in town, I have no problem with that. Many communities do require them. And, they do
Yeah,
it-
our issue is the exception becomes the rule, They use it.
Agreed.
So
Agreed.
the applicants figure it out and find it, and rightfully so. So we like to just stay consistent,
Very
He
valid
asked
point.
us last time about telephone lines. He's like, no one uses a telephone anymore. We don't need those, right? And we're like, yeah, you do.
Thank you, because he had asked me, and I said, I'm sorry, that's the board's decision.
So that's the board.
Yeah, but nobody's using them. Well,
Board,
you know,
not me.
I said, Tony, give me your cell phone number. He says, I don't have a cell phone. See my point?
No, good. He's got to dig the trench anyways. He's got to put sand in the trench anyways. It's a few pieces of plastic conduit.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the way I looked at it.
Yep. Definitely.
Right.
So.
Thanks again. Thank you, Joe.
So, what would you guys like to see? Would you guys like to see me revise the minor things on this preliminary plan? Just the minor things like the table with the building factors and all the dimensions labeled and stuff like that, so you guys can approve the preliminary plan, so we can officially start to dig deeper into the definitive plan and resubmit a whole definitive plan, the second one?
I'm trying to think what else might come up, that you would need to modify it for. I hate to see you do it 2 or 3 times. So, that's certainly what we need, but
He's got to start somewhere. So,
Yeah.
So yeah, if you want to do that, that sounds like a reasonable. You're gonna look at lots, the 4 lots on Jesse, or actually 5 lots that you have on Jesse Road. You're gonna look at this putting in the sidewalks, taking out the turn of the island and the cul-de-sac, finding the 50-foot open space access, put the 25-foot to the next road.
Lighting on the road.
Yeah, put the lighting in.
stop sign.
Show what you think you're gonna put in for the culverts.
Otherwise, address everything that's been in writing today, I guess.
Yeah, and then if you can address what I think Mr.
Yeah,
Walsh
to the two
gave,
letters.
gave you with the elevation for the pipes going through the culvert. We don't want to have it in open space where it's going to freeze, so
Mhm.
see if you can work on that. You know about it now, so.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was planning on doing. We're probably gonna do it to a certain extent. We probably won't, we'll probably get rid of lot 20. We'll probably continue to show the 1-2 kind of stuff and get a definite yes or no from you guys, and then go through and redo all the little details and all the little numbers and show the heights of the walls and stuff like that.
I think it's a lot better more cost effective and a better process for you to do this kind of tweaking at the preliminary stage and the definitive stage. 'Cause-
Oh, it definitely is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, everybody.
I just have one other question. About the street trees, we mentioned that, you mentioned that in your letter?
No, I didn't mention, that's a detail I usually take care of at definitive. We're trying to, at preliminary, we're looking at horizontal and vertical layout, concept of the drainage layout. They went so far as to show concept of the building locations and driveways, which is nice. I'm looking at lot count, not for the sake of lot count, but do they have the requisite frontage and area and so forth. This town doesn't require a special permit. We're gonna have one community that issues a special permit and nails down the lot count at that time at preliminary. There's also a special permit that goes with it. The only community I know that does that, but that's where we get into greater detail than normal on lot dimensions. But again, I wouldn't wanna have a preliminary plan before you, and my focus is the road, and after the fact, nobody looked at lot areas or frontage, and by the way, this 20 lot not this example, but another hypothetical, this 24 lot subdivision really yields only about 18 because all the things were squished down, and the board approved an 18 lot subdivision that someone's trying to, if the approval had a number that the applicant was trying to hold the board to, then it gets to be trying to put 10 pounds of stuff in a 5-pound basket. So, again, here, you're not approving a specific number of lots. It's up to the applicant to make the lots buildable with not only respect with geometry, but also with, Title V doesn't apply here, but if they couldn't perk a lot, that would be their problem, not the planning board's issue, and likewise with permitting through the Conservation Commission, so. The lot sizes seem to work, except with the exception of that one that's very close, and so I don't think it's an issue. Great.
Thanks.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to discussion of status of economic development planning, including the village district study and phase 2 of the economic development strategy or strategic plan, commencing a phase 2 work plan. Don, you have updates on those?
I spoke to Ron Barron, CMRPC today. He was doing the project for the town.
Thank you.
And he indicated he'd like to get going the week of the 23rd. Unfortunately, they're going to meet the EDC meeting, but he can't, because what else is going on in the agency and all. They can't do it the next week, but he may have some updates for us anyway.
All right.
This sort of is his schedule, so we'll see what happens, what he can do. As far as setting the field trip, whatever you want to call it, the site visit, site walk, stop snowing.
No, it snowed yesterday.
That's right.
It's supposed to snow Friday, too, so
Yeah.
get ready.
Yeah, so obviously we have to do that. If you want to, maybe for our next meeting, put some dates together, see if everyone's schedule works out, identify how long you think it might be, where we'll go.
Sun's out till 7:30.
Huh?
Sun's out till 7:30.
And
We're here Thursdays anyway.
I assume we'd be doing that with the Economic Development Committee as well?
Yes. Yeah. Well,
Put that on our
Or the-
agenda for Tuesday.
okay.
Okay.
Well, be sure you post it before 10 o'clock tomorrow, John.
I've got all my
Holiday.
annual, I got every monthly meeting already posted with the town clerk's office, did it
All
myself.
set with that?
I am good for the year.
Okay. Because we do have a holiday on Monday again.
Yeah, and Ellen did the agenda yesterday,
Okay,
so we're good.
okay.
All right. Phase 2 Economic Development Strategic Plan.
Well, that's what we'll probably start with the week of the 23rd.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably start to work around that,
All right.
that point in time.
And next item is the planner's plate, but you've been a bit of a windbag tonight, Don, so.
Well, he's not the only one. He must be fair.
Planner's plate, well,
I'm just kidding,
a
Don.
few things on my plate. John was at this meeting too, and as was Greg. Chamber of Commerce, the Worcester region.
Not Chamber of Commerce, you mean the Webster Dudley Business Alliance?
No,
Oh. Webster Dudley Oxford Chamber of Commerce?
no,
No. Worcester Chamber of Commerce?
Worcester Region Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
On the SEDS, what it's called, the Community Economic Development Strategy, the EDA. And Dudley's never been on it. Joe brought up the point that maybe we want to do something with our agriculture. So it's a long-term thing, it's very involved, and takes a
You
lot
have
of
to
time.
be a member?
No. It's a process that they're going through, and so taking the lead, and
And what is it called again?
the Community and Economic Development Strategy, SEDS, CEDS.
Community Economic Development.
It's another acronym.
Yeah. Like WHIP, or like SWIP.
Yeah, there's basically like 22 communities, right? It was 22 or was it 20?
I think 22.
Yeah, 22 communities. We're going in all together, looking to establish an economic development zone for the federal government. By doing this together, we become eligible for a whole bunch of federal stuff. And the two drums that we were banging at this meeting was, we have old mills that need help, and our agriculture.
Mhm.
And then everybody was beating the drum on infrastructure. And I think we were probably the town with the most representatives there this time, right? From zero, right? We had three from our town.
Yeah.
Auburn only had two.
Who was the third?
Southbridge.
Greg,
yeah.
town administrator.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Recreational marijuana regulations are done. CCC, the Campus Control Commission, has done them. We have a moratorium until November 15th, just to get us past the election. In case there's a ballot question of any kind that's going to go on. So I think that after town meeting's over, we'll probably jump right on that.
Okay.
If I remember correctly, Charlton's holding a vote soon on converting some location to a dispensary, so
They are
we'll have-
definitely doing something for Route 20.
Yeah, we can piggyback off their
Mm.
Oh, I
findings.
thought you were saying we could just go over there.
Our next meeting will be held.
Not till June.
The mill walk.
Not till June.
The village walk all the way to Charlton.
But we'll at least have a framework we can draw
There you
on,
go.
aside from the CCC.
Go to Treehouse while we're there. All right.
Well,
We can get in.
Speaking of that field trip and all that thing, what's a good day for everybody, other than Wednesday?
It has to, for me, it would have to be on a Saturday.
And I work Saturdays.
Yeah, you do.
As long as I know in advance, I can plan around it.
Night? I don't know.
People
We do it in
get,
the
people get
afternoon.
nervous if you shine flashlights in their windows at
afternoon.
night. We don't want to be doing
Except
that.
Saturday afternoon.
I guess.
I could do Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
You have less mail-in?
Huh?
Less mail-in Saturday?
Sometimes there's less mail and I can get in there early and
Is that
just
right?
get out as quickly as I
It
can.
really is?
Hmm?
It really is less mail, huh?
A lot of times.
Less stops, I guess.
Well, it's a lot less mail, so sometimes I could just zoom by people's houses.
Throw it.
Saves time, yep. Like delivering to you today, so.
Gentleman by the name of Dave, I forget his last name. the developer for Lions Estates.
Oh, Dan
Inquiring-
Haynes.
Inquiring about a solar farm over there too.
Yeah,
I
Off
think
of
you make-
Lions
I think you
Road?
can possibly make the process. We have to have the hearing like the night of the town meeting.
That might be too soon.
Either that, or if you got it in right away, we'd have to advertise the hearing immediately, hold a special meeting.
I tell them you have to wait till the fall. We can't, I mean, we can't jump through hoops like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially not the one we're having right now, too.
On Janaki's properties, there's one more street to do, called Bonner Drive. Guess he'd been there for his mother, his name was Benita or something.
Yep.
Whatever it was. And there's really no construction on that street at all. He said that he has lots released in the past by coming up with $3,000, and passing along with the streets, I think, were partially constructed in those cases, weren't they?
The streets
How
work.
how does that work? I mean, is the lot releases? Do you recall the history on that?
That's so old too, you
Hmm.
talk about old
That was a settlement to a lawsuit that lingered for ages.
decades.
Because originally he was supposed to turn over his road to the town, and he did not do that, and he kept it as a private road.
Yeah.
And there was cross litigation going on. This is going back to, again, the year 2000, 2001. And as part of the settlement, a number of lots were released. Lawsuits were dropped.
Mm-hmm.
But did not exempt him, and I believe from that point forward, he had to go with all current rules and regulations regarding new subdivisions. He was not grandfathered under the old subdivision control law.
It is an old subdivision. That street was there, but
Yeah,
you mean the actual
so-
physical construction?
so
The
you
actual
almost have
physical
to-
construction, right?
Yeah, you almost have to go through the archives, see when the settlement was and what rules and regulations were in effect at the time of the settlement. And it was that point forward, he had to be comply with every other developer that came before the board.
Okay, because he's been getting lot releases over time for $3,000, the fee that goes into an escrow account.
But he-
There's some substantial money in it, but not a
Right.
lot.
But the,
It's $66,000, I believe it is.
how much?
60-some thousand, 66, I
Right.
think.
He did, maybe 10 years ago, he did do, there was a large section of Eagle Drive, part of Fairfield. It had been binder course for 10 years. Danny went and looked at it, said, no, this has got to be replaced. So we did get him to replace that entire section. I don't know what phase it was, if it was phase 2 or 3 or what phase it was, but he did regrind that whole street, put new binder course down and new top coat, put in all the street signs, did all the sidewalks. Everything in that phase was brought up to where it needed to be.
The second phase, that's sort of that phase, around
Yeah.
the corner. And heading back in the other direction, that's
This
where
little
the
street that
baseball
you're
is
talking
at.
about, there's only 4 lots on that street, right?
Might be 6.
Okay, because it's a very short cul-de-sac.
Might actually be 6, I'm not sure.
Okay. But yeah, in the past, we were giving him lot releases, but he did have at least the binder course, the curbing down, and the sidewalks roughed out.
Right. So here, in this street doesn't have anything real
Yeah.
construction yet, so I think we have to start from scratch.
Right.
In other words, get a bond or a letter of credit or lender's agreement, whatever.
I mean, before he starts that, we should have him finish the other section that's already built out, because that's probably still at the condition of the other street was.
I agree.
10-year-old binder course.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's
not
real
bad.
bad, but it's it's been there for a while.
Yeah.
Shows signs of age.
Yeah, so, I mean, like when he did that, the last time, he didn't have catch basins at the right height, so he ended up moving up or down catch basins to make them all proper. So it's probably the same situation in that last phase that's not
Probably.
done.
Yeah. I think that's something else that we'll have an inspector.
See, that's that catch-22, though, when we talk about developers. And should they hand over their roads to the town at the end? Because, right, so, and it's exactly how Partridge Hill occurred.
old subdivision. There is no HOA for any of the homeowners there. He's gonna keep it private.
He's plowing it.
He's plowing it, right? What happens 15, 20 years from now?
Yeah, he's
When,
gone.
when he's gone and the road's a mess and there is no HOA
Right.
and there's no escrow anymore because he's been hitting it $3,000 until that 66 goes down to zero.
No, he's putting it in.
Okay,
Putting 3,000 in every time.
so
So that 66 is going up.
It's going up.
fix the road 20 years from now?
There aren't any lots left on the road that just says base coat of pavement, I don't think. I think there's only probably those 6 left.
Right.
There's no construction at all, so I think you have to start from, to get building permits, I think you have to get a bond on that or build up to the base coat or something. We'll see what comes out of that one. I have to see what was recorded at the
Not
registry too.
solving that one tonight.
I mean, check the covenant to see how it was worded.
Yeah,
What else you got, Dono?
that's enough.
He's done.
you're gonna break Marty's old record of planning board meetings.
Fred nodded off twice already. The camera's just going everywhere. All right, well, I think that was a good meeting. I think we got a lot accomplished.
Yeah.
But it was a long meeting, that's for sure. So, thank you for everyone hanging in there. Any comments from the board other than,
I don't think you took a vote on the recommendation on the zoning article, did you? You can do that next meeting.
on the what?
Zoning article, you can take a vote on the recommendation one way or
Oh.
another. You can do that next meeting.
We're here. I
think
don't,
it's
if
easy to do it
everybody's
tonight.
ready to do it, let's do it.
What do we do? What is it?
Voting on the
On the
article,
bylaw? I don't know.
there was a 200 down to 100, but there was gonna be a
Oh,
caveat.
no, not that one. You didn't have a hearing on that yet.
Mhm.
Talking about the solar article.
Oh,
I don't think you took a vote to make a recommendation one way or another, did you?
we didn't know. We can vote at the next one.
You vote next meeting,
Right,
2
I
weeks
mean-
from now.
It's gonna be up to the town to decide whether they want it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, our obligation is just to present it to
You
the,
know, for what it's worth, there's another issue sort of out there. I don't know, it's not a big issue, but you probably remember that there's a couple common septic systems, or whatever,
right.
on lots over there, and they have easements going through. They don't have them right now, but they'll have to put easements through the roadway.
I'll mention that at the Board of Selectmen meeting.
Yeah, okay.
I'm sure it'll be brought up.
It was worked on, it was never finalized, but there's some wording out there, there's at least draft that you can
Right.
take a look at. It's in your package, actually. So,
Okay.
Yeah, and thanks for stepping up and doing that. I think they really appreciate that.
No problem.
Anything else, Don?
no, it's enough.
Put your hand over his mouth, Dan. We're looking for a motion to adjourn.
I almost walked out about an hour ago.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second that motion.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Good night.
Monday,
So we don't